Hey everybody, what's up? It is another Friday. I hope you're doing well. Episode number 253 of Heavy Metallurgy. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Marty. It's good to see you. Alan, good to see you as well. What's been going on this week?
Business as usual. Weather's doing wacky things where it's 70 degrees one day and 35 degrees the next day. Sounds like you've had kind of the same issues.
Oh, it's a blizzard up here. Total blizzard
yeah.
right now. Yeah.
It's kind of weather that can make somebody feel a little bit morbid if you're not already morbid.
Ooh. Yeah. And joining us again, Daniel Ekeroth from Sweden.
Yes.
From the bands Horndal, Martyrdöd, also wrote the book Swedish Death Metal. Welcome back, Daniel. How have you been?
Thank you.
What
we
is
have some spring here now, so it's nice.
Did you guys have a true blue winter? I watched some YouTube people, and it looks like there hasn't been a ton of snow in Sweden.
Oh, it has this year. It has been a lot of snow and very cold.
Was it late coming though, or no?
I mean, late December. That seems to be. When I was young, it was November, but now it seems to be late December when the snow really hits.
Yeah. This has been a real winter. It's been many years since we've had a real winter. It's been pretty wimpy, but not this year. It's been getting our asses handed to us.
Yeah, here too.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you. What's been going on over in Sweden? What have you been up to?
Well, lately I've been recording the new Horndal album, and we are mixing it as we speak.
Excellent.
And we also got my friend Michael Åkerfeldt from Opeth is gonna sing on one of the songs. So
nice,
very cool.
That's been going on, and now as the album is being mixed, I'm gonna take the opportunity to go out and play some gigs with my other band, Martyrdöd. So
it's good to hear that the Swedish metal family still supports each other. That's really cool.
Of course, it's since the demo days in the death metal, it's basically still the same 50 guys in all the bands.
Sure. Yep.
I mean, new bands come and go, but those original guys, they're the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Little grayer around the edges and maybe a little fatter, maybe a little balder. Yep. Well, that's awesome. And it's funny. We have a Discord server. Folks, check that out. And I think someone commented again, Daniel's coming on again and you're not talking about Swedish death metal? What the fuck? Daniel, though, you had this idea. What are we talking about today?
Well, the Tom Warrior bands and the Celtic Frost in particular. I mean, that is, for me, it's the best extreme metal band of all time. And they're very personal to me too, because that was one of the few bands that I discovered completely on my own back in the day. It was no one else told me you should listen to this. And I actually discovered from this magazine, which I still have. It's a Swedish. You can see all the great bands, nice. Nazareth and Marillion and Clint Eastwood. You could buy this in a tiny village where I lived. In the news, I think only 4 issues ever came, and this is number 3. But in the very end, it's a section about new bands like H-Bomb and Savage and Tokyo Blade.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys, Hellhammer.
Yep.
And that picture, for me, it was, oh my God, these guys look scary for real.
Right.
I have to check them out. And, back then, you didn't have any money. I was 12 years old, and I could basically buy records 2 times a year, after Christmas, where I got some money, and after my birthday. So I think it was either after Christmas in 84 or after my birthday in 85 that I went out to the store and was looking for Hellhammer, but I couldn't find that. But there was this other record called Celtic Frost with Hellhammer members, and it looks cool. So
yeah,
came home with me, and here we are.
And what was your first thoughts of that? Because I remember, Hellhammer, they were universally panned as terrible. I mean, they had a rough go of things. It seems getting started.
Yeah, but everything that got the review, oh, this is terrible. That was the records I wanted, because I knew that's something I would like, because I thought Venom was the best band in the world, basically.
Right. What about you, Alan? What was your first connection with this musical entity?
That's a good question. I was trying to think about that earlier. Yeah. The first one I came across, I'd heard the name a little bit. Nobody in my high school had anything by the band. And I guess it was probably towards the end of high school. I was at a mall one day looking through cassettes in the cutout bin because they were super cheap. I could afford 2 cassette tapes instead of just one if I bought them both from the $4.99 bin. And they had a couple of Celtic Frost tapes. It's like, okay, I've heard about this band, seen them, in a couple of magazines. And this would have been earliest 90s, so pretty late in their career. But I had nothing really going. Just like, which one, do I get this one or that one? I don't know. There were 2. It's like, I don't want to buy both of them because that's all my money. I don't want to gamble that much, but I'll buy one. And it was like, I don't know. This one, the cover is really hard to see anything on. This one's got an interesting design. So I bought Cold Lake. And that was my first exposure to Celtic Frost.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The other option, in the other hand, was Into the Pandemonium. And to be honest, for a teenage me, that probably would have gone equally bad. I would not have been ready to try to process something Into the Pandemonium at that point. But yeah, it was maybe kind of a rough start. It's like, what is this? And why does everybody make a big deal about it? So wouldn't be until a couple of years later that I gave them another chance. And I'm pretty sure next time I got on board with, it was either somebody dubbed Morbid Tales for me, or I ended up with a used cassette tape of the Parched with Thirst compilation, which was also kind of a weird early thing to hear by them. So I didn't have the smoothest entry to Celtic Frost, but did come to like a lot of their stuff quite a bit. And then got into the, Hellhammer stuff later on and such. And yeah, so a really cool, important band. I've always liked. I probably didn't pick the best ways to introduce myself to them. What about you, Marty? How did you first become Morbid? I'll try not to run this joke in the ground too much tonight, but it is me. It is my thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit nebulous for me as well, but I'm pretty sure the first exposure that I had that was uninterrupted was I got a copy of the Best of Metal Blade Volume 1 cassette back in the day, and it had Circle of the Tyrants on there, and it felt like one of the heavier songs on the album, on that comp. I also seem to remember there was a local radio, well, there still is, WNMC. It's a college station. They had a guy there named Keith, and he was always spinning the super extreme shit. Hey, thanks, Mark.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Appreciate you. He would always, that's the first time I heard Metallica. That was the first time I heard Merciful Fate, was on this guy's radio station, and I couldn't hear it where I live, where I grew up in the woods. It was a college radio station, so it had a very small tower, a very small signal. So you could only hear it if you were in town. So I would hear it over at my friend's house, or he would record it, and we'd listen to the tape back. And, of course, then everything, after coming from Kiss and, Ozzy and Sabbath and Dio, hearing that stuff, I found it all hilarious. I'm like, I can't believe people like this crap. Of course, I was eating crow very shortly thereafter. Once I started to sit and listen to it, and went, wow, you have to have that awakening moment. But Celtic Frost was always distracted up until I got that Best of Metal Blade Volume 1. Sit there and just listen to that comp over and over and over and over again. Everything from Bitch to Celtic Frost to Face Warning. I just devoured everything on that tape. And yeah, for me, that was it. So I didn't hear, and then eventually ended up getting Morbid Tales and then kind of jumping in at that point. But, hearing Hellhammer later, and yeah, I guess Hellhammer, we should probably start at the beginning, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
And would this be considered the beginning? Did this come out before
No.
No? Okay.
Nope, that's actually towards the end of the Hellhammer run.
Towards the end. I didn't know where to put it timeline wise. So
I think it actually came out at the same time as Morbid Tales.
Ah.
It was very close.
Okay.
Hellhammer didn't exist when that came out.
Gotcha. So yeah, where do you want to start with Hellhammer, Daniel?
Maybe here.
Well, no, I mean, Hellhammer is the origin is already back in 81 when Tom formed the band Tarot that turned into Grave Hill. And I think back then, I mean, I never heard anything by them, but I think that was more a new wave of British heavy metal kind of band. And
I've never heard anything by them either, so yeah, I've always been.
But since everything is so well documented by this fantastic book about the Hellhammer and early Celtic Frost days, you have read up about this afterwards. I didn't know anything about it back then. But he apparently took a trip to London in I think the summer of 81 and picked up a couple of issues of Kerrang magazine and the first Venom 7-inch. And after hearing Venom, he realized that I have to play this kind of music. So Grave Hill was turned into Hellhammer in, if I remember it right, it was May 1982, together with Urs Sprenger from Grave Hill. There were only two guys in the band who appreciated this heavier stuff. So they formed Hellhammer, and that for me is the ground zero for the extreme metal underground. I mean, Venom is ground zero for all extreme metal, and I think Metallica is ground zero for all thrash metal. But for death metal and black metal, I think Hellhammer, Celtic Frost, that's the band that really is the origin. I think they took them some time to get going and record anything, but who didn't have that? It took time. And I loved how they got the stage name. They wanted to be like the band More, that I think few people remembers today. There was a new wave of British heavy metal band that was two brothers. One of them, Paul Mario Day, and the other one was Brian Day. I think so. And Paul Mario Day was the original singer of Iron Maiden.
Oh, yep.
So they wanted to be like those guys, so that they adopted the names Tom Warrior and Steve Warrior to be like brothers. And later, when they found their sort of permanent drummer, Jörg Neubart was his name, but he changed the name to Bruce Day after the Day brothers in More. So everybody in that band chose their names based on the band More. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah.
But then I think what was so cool about Hellhammer was they had it all together from the get-go. Every photo that exists from them in the early days, they looked like $1 million. They looked like a real band. And they haven't even recorded anything yet. It looks so good. And they had a newsletter. They had a fan scene. They had all the graphics, logos. They made pretty professional photo sessions.
Yep.
And they approached Giger, the famous artist, to say, "Hey, we have this band, and in the future we will make good music, and then we're gonna want to use your artwork. Can we do that?" And Giger, cool as he was, said, "Of course."
That's amazing.
So that was already set before they really did anything. So the pure, energy and dedication is out of this world, right? And unlike any other band at that time, I think.
And it's kind of you showed the book, that massive tome of Hellhammer, but there was this book before it, Are You Morbid? I don't know if you have that one as well.
Of course I do.
Yep. I was reminded reading this book. I was disappointed, I will say, just how negatively Tom talked about the Hellhammer years. I understand it was out of a product of, kind of a rough upbringing. So I'm sure there's a bunch of emotions attached to it on top of it. But yeah, it's amazing how his perception on Hellhammer has changed over the years. Now there's Triumph of Death, which is going out there and playing all the old Hellhammer classics. But at the time of writing of this book, there isn't much good to say about Hellhammer in this book. That what I remember from reading it. I don't know. Would you guys? Did you?
I think he was in the wrong place at the time. I think his marriage had just ended, and
yeah.
I think much in that book is because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it would never be written today, and I doubt he will ever reprint it. I think he will write a new book about those days, and because the Hellhammer book is so much better.
It's so good, and all those pictures, the way it's displayed, what a fantastic book.
Yeah, it's the best book ever. I mean, about music.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, just some other things about it, Marty. I've been skimming back through it this week. This is pretty early in terms of metal guys from the 80s starting to write their autobiographies, as it were. So, because this came out 99, 2000, is like right there, turn of the century.
Yeah.
And it was also a phase where you're right. Yeah, he's very negative about a lot of things in the book, but it's also a point where Celtic Frost was completely past tense. The band had been done when he was writing this, Frost was already dead for at least 6 years, and there was no sign of it really coming back around. Monotheists, they wouldn't have started working on any kind of monotheist material really for another 5 or 6 years after that book. So, I mean, I can see why he had that opinion of stuff. He's essentially all but out of the music business at that point. He did have some projects going on. We'll talk about those in a little bit, I'm sure. But really, Frost's legacy was done. And there in the late 90s, you hadn't really got to that point yet where all of these older 80s veteran bands were being put back up on these pedestals by folks just yet. Sure, Frost had been influential on black metal, and that was riding a wave of popularity, but everyone wasn't going back to the older stuff just yet and rediscovering it. It really wasn't until in the 2000s where you started to have that revival of interest in a lot of the 80s bands and people kind of appreciating them and then seeing those guys come back on the scene. So yeah, I don't know where Tom was at personally when he was writing this book, but it was definitely at a point where Frost was done, and there would have been no reason to think it was coming back around or anything. So I think it also gave him an ability to be pretty candid about how he felt at it at that point. He obviously had bad experiences in the music business with Celtic Frost, so he was able to air those grievances pretty bluntly, which I think was to his credit. He didn't really try to sugarcoat things in the book. There are parts of it that do read oddly, just some of it maybe is language, some of it just because it is a bit maybe cheaply done. It's an independent press kind of feel to the book. But yeah, I always had that impression of the book too, that it's kind of negative. But when you consider where he and where Frost was at that point, it makes sense. I mean, there's at the very, very tail end of the book, like the last page, there's a little addendum added. Let me flip to it. It's maybe like half a page or something. If I can find it. There's the appendix. Yeah, there's like 3/4 of a page, postscript 1999, where he kind of added this in, saying like, quick update at the last second. Noise has just asked me to help with the repackaging of the reissues for the Celtic Frost catalog. And he gives them props. He's like, hey, they're actually being really nice about it. They're giving me the artistic control I always wanted over those items, and it seems like they're going to come out really, really nice. So kudos for them for not being horrible all over again. But I mean, that kind of just really drives home where they're at. At this point, they were just reissuing the Frost catalog for the first time in a while. So yeah, that was his only real connection with me. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I'll go help touch up these albums from 10, 15 years ago for a posthumous reissue. It's not like they were ramping up to monotheist or getting the band back together or anything like that. So yeah, I think that particular book just comes out at kind of a dead period in the Frost timeline.
Just that it did the book is kind of amazing because there was nothing like it back then.
Exactly.
And when I heard about it, it was like the guy in Celtic Frost made a book. It was like unbelievable.
Yeah,
I had the same reaction, which is why besides liking the band, why I went out and ordered it as soon as I got a chance. I'm just like, holy crap! Somebody wrote a book about all that stuff. That's cool. I want to read it.
That's maybe the most avant-garde thing he ever made to make that book.
Yep. But yeah, because now we're starting to take it for granted. Everybody and their brother's band is starting to put out a biography.
His brain was always ahead of us. That's just how it is.
It's true, very true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what made that the negativity he was feeling and putting into this, it made the book interesting, very interesting. I couldn't put it down. I crushed it just for the fact that you wanted to hear this behind the scenes stuff. And you don't really, when you're listening to the records, you don't realize the crap that goes behind, the negative shit that was happening. So it was very interesting to hear his perspective on it. It might have sounded a bit bitter, a bit petty at times, but you know what? It's honest from his perspective at the time. So
yeah. I mean, I also like the fact that, he owned up to things he judged as mistakes in the book. This was not a book of throwing other people under the bus. When he had something negative to say, he had very specific reasons for saying it. And when something went wrong that was on his bill, he says, like, look, this album did not turn out good, or this situation, I didn't know how to handle it right, and I effed it up really bad. So he accepts his share of the blame for missteps along the way. It wasn't an attempt to just glorify his role and whitewash certain things. It didn't come across that way anyway. So yeah, I agree, Marty. It was a good read in that regard.
Agreed. All right.
But yes, I mean, to Daniel's point, the other book is the definitive book. So
that book is so amazing. So many awesome pictures, and the way it's all presented, top notch. Really good. Highly doubt that's even in print anymore, is it?
I think Bazillion Point still has it in print.
Does it? Cool.
I think, and I can't swear to that, but I think they do.
Yeah, it was sold out for a while, but I think now you can get them again.
Excellent.
Okay. Maybe they got another pressing recently.
So, getting back to Hellhammer, there was 1983, a very productive year. They put out the Death Fiend, the Triumph of Death, and the Satanic Rites demos all in the same year. It was collected into one comp here, this Demon Entrails, which was, Century Media did, and it was done pretty well, other than this crappy Digipack thing. But I remember, there you go. I'll blow you up, Daniel. Show that again. The box set and everything. There was a whole campaign behind this, and
I've got the in between. I got the fancy CD, so not as cool as the vinyl, but not the.
I also got the cassette box.
Wow, yeah. And what an excellent way to combat all the because I've got a couple bootleg CDs, one for Triumph of Death and one for Death Fiend, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've got like a 7-inch bootleg of Triumph of Death.
Yeah,
it's sandwiched onto it's. I don't think it's even the full demo. I think it's like 9 of the 12 tracks or something crazy. But yeah, it's on 2 7-inch records with a pretty cheaply done sleeve.
Yeah,
but it was cheap and it said Hellhammer, so I bought it.
Right. But is there anything you guys want to talk about the demos, or should we just go to the?
No, I can say a few things.
Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how many songs, because these two is one recording, and I think it's 19 tracks or something ridiculous. Like when you do a demo, normally you take your 3 or 4 best songs and try to make them sound as good as possible.
Yep.
These guys, they just recorded everything they had, and they could only afford 1 reel of tape, so they couldn't use all the channels to fit all the songs. So they recorded on 4 channels, and then they rewinded the tape and recorded the rest on the other 4 channels. And that's not how you do it.
No.
Yeah.
And they plan to release it at 2 demos with the Death Fiend first, I think, and Triumph of Death later.
Right.
Death Fiend never came out. So they just released the latest songs we have, or the better songs. But it's a stroke of genius, because in their newsletter and everything, it looks like we have a demo already out that was never released. But the fact is, the cover existed, the songs existed, the recording existed. So it was kind of a scam, but it's still not. So, and these Hellhammer recordings, they sound very different to all the later stuff. It's more or less a punk recording.
Yeah.
It's that you can hear the Tom Warrior guitar sound somewhere buried down there. But if I have to say something about this recording, it's the bass sound is fucking brutal, and I love it. And they completely switched bass sound after this and never went back. And I can understand why, because this brutal bass sound would have been in conflict with Tom's signature guitar sound. So
Yeah.
they couldn't use it. But only for that, these are very, very listenable to me. Steve Warrior's, primitive bass playing and that incredible bass sound.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
I think that the only thing that was released was from this was... No, this is the second recording. This was Satanic Rites. Sorry. So nothing was ever released from those demos. And I didn't know anyone who had them back in the day. And I heard it way, way later.
Right.
Yeah, same here. But yeah, then you're right. There's out of that session, because that session for those first 2 tapes, I made sure to try to get the dates and stuff lined up because it gets a little confusing. But yeah, that was a June 1983 recording session. I think they did 17 tracks total. And between the two, they did the Death Fiend recording and then the Triumph of Death recording, like you said, on the other channels. There's 5 songs that overlap between the two. So it gets kind of weird. But you're right. I mean, it's a very raw, over the top kind of sound. This is just an old bootleg picture disc copy of it I got from King Fowley ages ago. But yeah, it's and like you said, it's really starting to show an extreme metal underground. They're taking the Venom influence and combining it with a punk and hardcore kind of thing, and starting, well, it's very crude, very primitive. There's the infamous stories with them recording this in the bunker. They barely knew what they were doing. The guy recording it barely knew what he was doing, but it still produces something that has a certain charm to it, and it is very listenable nonetheless. But yeah, then by the end of the year, they're doing the Satanic Rites demo. And there's a big improvement in sound. Just that difference of 6 months of extra practice and stuff. Really, you see the band maturing quite a bit.
And that's just something that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, those kids, they would rehearse every day,
Yeah. Well, they also, in the meantime, they had, at this point, sort of interest from Carl at Noise, and they had to produce a new demo to sort of show proof of concept. It's like, okay, your initial recording is interesting, but can you deliver anything else? So they had to kind of rush, put together a new demo, and they understood, hey, wait a second, we've actually got a chance to do something with this. We better, really bore down on this and step up our game. And I think they do. The Satanic Rites demo material shows a step up.
Tom also during this time started to work on the lineup. As Steve Warrior was fired from the band because he didn't develop in the same pace. And I also think maybe his heart wasn't there anymore after. So they tried out a couple of guys. I know Oliver Amberg was asked to join, which we will get back to him, I can tell you.
Take a rain check on that one. Yep.
But I think he was in Hellhammer for 1 day. And when he didn't accept to join, they had a guy called Mike Ovens, who stayed for like a week. Didn't work out either. And then they got Stephen Priestley on bass for a while. And he was supposed to play on the Satanic Rites demo. He rehearsed for it and everything was set. And the day they were going to the studio to record it, he didn't show up, and they called him and he said, I went shopping with my mom. I don't have time. Which in the book is described so perfect. So it's actually Tom playing the bass on the demo, even if it says that Martin Ein is, but he's not. But he was, by default, they said, now you have to be in the band. Because both Stephen Priestley and Martin Ein came from a supposed band called Shitzo that took a bunch of fantastic photos that are in that book, Hellhammer book, but never recorded anything. And I think Shitzo was hangarounds to Hellhammer, but it took the image even further with their photos. So Priestley doesn't show up. So now Martin, you're in the band.
Yep. It was all set in motion at that point.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's a big addition. Tom and Martin's interaction, of course, really starts to move things along. There's it always seems like the early at that point, Tom's moving out of that more slightly simpler, more juvenile approach to things, and Martin seems like he's the perfect foil to kind of help bring Tom into kind of a wider worldview, get him more exposed to more books, more literature, philosophy stuff, so that they could kind of very quickly start to accelerate towards something that was going to be more advanced. Without Martin in the picture, who knows how long that takes Tom to come around, if he does, or if he goes down a completely different path.
I think it needed someone to fight with and push it.
Tension.
This demo,
you need those creative forces to work off of each other sometimes, as well as together. Yeah.
And what this demo has that was not really there before is the guitar sound, the Tom Warrior guitar sound, and his vocals. They're basically everything is there in place. And of course, the track on Metal Massacre 5 is from this demo.
There's something to be said too, people calling them very juvenile, the music very juvenile, but you listen to that, what was going on in the music climate at the time, those demos, very primitive, very stripped down, very simplistic, which is kind of the style which continued forward. But there's just a scary edge to that stuff. It felt legitimately dark and evil. And say what you want about it, but looking back, I don't know. There's a little bit of, luck, maybe some genius involved in it. Sure. But, just to write it off as juvenile, Tom even did it in the book, Are You Morbid book. A couple times, I think he called it juvenile and, but it's like, yeah, from your perspective, I can see that. But what happened, what came out of it, it's something, there's something true, something real there, which is not often found in bands that young. You know what I mean?
But at that time, if you compare what other, underground extreme stuff was there, I mean, there was this.
Yeah.
But Merciful Fate is like a super professional band. That it's
and more heavy metal based.
And prog.
Yeah.
It's so fun. And then in America, you had this. But Slayer is also a super professional band from the get-go.
Yep.
But then you have Bathory on the Swedish Metal Attack. I think that's the closest thing.
Oh, yeah.
But even Bathory is more like a regular. They sound a lot like Venom in the beginning.
Yeah.
And Hellhammer doesn't. They sound from another world.
Yep. And Bathory, I think, benefited too from a bit of, I don't know if there's money behind it. Obviously, his dad ended up starting a label, but there was some sort of a backing there. It was never really fully known at the time because he was such an enigma. But yeah,
I think Bathory they made one record that is out of this world, and that's the Return, because that's so extreme and so crazy, that record. But in the beginning, they were more together, like Venom.
Yeah. Well, the demos, they all came together, and this EP was born out of it. Apocalyptic Raids. This came out in
84.
84, yes.
Yep. Yeah, released April 84 according to Metal Archives.
Daniel, you want to start on this one? Talk about
Well,
thoughts?
this I have several copies of that,
Yep. There's a lot of pressings of this one, yeah.
Mine is 33 on one side and 45 on the other.
Yeah, I have a couple of those.
And this is what I paid for it. $1.99. Haha.
And these are two different European pressings. That's a slight difference in the color of the logo.
Yeah, the
Yep.
red and the pink, or more pinkish. Yeah.
So I don't have the US or the Canadian presses, which I really want those. So if someone want to trade for a European one. No, but this is when Martin is in the band. So now it's a band, and they are sent to a studio, a real studio in Berlin called the K8 Studio. And they really get a sound that I really love. The sound of that studio. You know what records were recorded there? We can go through them, because after the Hellhammer, they sent Warrant.
The Warrant.
You remember
I
them?
have never heard that record, and it's on my list to get one of these days.
Those two recorded there. Then you have the first two Running Wilds, the two best ones, recorded there. You have the first two Sodom, especially this one is the best Sodom ever. It has similar sound to Hellhammer because of that studio. You have the first two Creator recorded there. And the first Free Destructions.
I wonder why that sound changed so drastically between Infernal Overkill and Eternal Devastation. The guitar tone is just kind of worse on Eternal Devastation, if that's possible,
I think it's the same difference as Morbid Tales and to Mega Therion, because the studio got new equipment and changed the name to Casablanca Studio. So I think there is a shift in the sound.
Right.
It's also between the first two Sodoms. The Obsessed by Cruelty has not the same sound as the first one.
Yeah. All right. Alan, do you have a few things you want to throw in on this one?
Yeah, just like Daniel was showing, there's a lot of different pressings and little variations in color and stuff. My pinkish one here at the top is a noise pressing, and the red pressing is the Metal Blade pressing. So, yeah, with the old X label to it. And of course, giant, as John pointed out in the comments earlier, giant goat penis demon thing on the cover. That was going to sell copies. You didn't have to hear what it sounded like. You see that crazy thing on the cover, you're either running away and buying a Bon Jovi record, or you're taking that home with you. There's really not much in between.
Yeah.
They erased that on the Canadian release.
Really?
That's the only record on Banzai that was censored. It's the Hellhammer.
Really? Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Somebody just also Emperor's Return. I think they might have covered a nipple or two there.
Okay. Someone in the chat, I think it was maybe Wilson, just mentioned they have the Banzai press. I've never seen that one.
No, I need that one.
That would be cool. That's a cool one that Wilson's got. But yeah, it's a great EP. One thing that stands out to me about it a little bit, Frost has always mentioned, of course, with the Venom influence, the punky influence, and the death and the thrash. The slower track, Triumph of Death, actually also sounds like it's a great track, and it actually reminds me a lot of like early Saint Vitus. It's got that same really heavy distortion to it, but slower. Part of me wants to ask some free AI program to like put Scott Rieger's voice over the music for Triumph of Death, and I bet it's going to sound a lot like some long lost Saint Vitus track. So there's actually a weird doomy quality to that song, which doesn't get brought up with Hellhammer. Everyone tends to think of it as like straightforward, no hold bars, metal thrashing rage. Even at this stage, they weren't afraid to slow down and try something a little different. It wasn't, that every song was just, another 2.5 minute banger. So Triumph of Death stands out to me just because of that weird pacing. Every time it starts out, I'm always thinking now, is there a St. Vitus thing here? I can't imagine they had any knowledge of St. Vitus at that point. Vitus's first EP wasn't out. They had demoed some stuff, but I mean, it's a weird world. Maybe somehow they had heard the old Tyrant demo material that St. Vitus did like in 79.
I think they heard Black Sabbath.
Sabbath makes more sense. And just with the equipment they had and the know-how they had at the time, they just ended up at a sound that was a lot like Vitus. But of course, Vitus had, hardcore and punk in their bloodstream as well. So maybe it's not such a stretch to imagine that, Frost or Hellhammer rather kind of did the same thing. We also like hardcore and punk. And if we slow down, maybe it was inevitable they sounded a little bit like Vitus. But yeah, definitely one of the very cool extreme artifacts from 84. Marty, what are your thoughts on that one?
I think it's, obviously I got very used to the Celtic Frost sound, and then going back to this, it felt a little bit more like demo material, but listening to it again and again and again, it sounds like it was recorded very loud. Like they were just kind of in the room banging it out is what it sounds like to me. And that just adds such a rawness to it that I really appreciate. A really live, very underground sound. And the songs are just so, you could tell they poured a lot into them. Whether they're slower or the faster tracks, they just reveling in their own sound. They didn't really remind me of anyone, which I think is, obviously, what was he saying in the book? He was speeding up or slowing down Angel Witch 45s and kind of being inspired by the way it sounded. Or was it Venom? I can't remember if it was Venom or Angel Witch. Might have been both. But that was kind of what inspired this whole style, was slowed down, 45 Venom and Angel Witch records. And it's kind of cool that they could know they're listening to the thing wrong and still being inspired by that. And what comes out of it is just so raw and evil and heavy for the times. They were charting their own path, which they completely embrace as they go. Well, there's a lot of missteps here and there, not a lot of missteps, but a lot of growth and evolution. We'll go with that. We'll take it that route. But now I guess we can show this one, Death Metal. It's a compilation of Running Wild, Hellhammer, Halloween, and Dark Avenger, which I don't think they did anything beyond this comp, did they?
No.
Or did they?
I don't think so. No, they're the one band that faded into obscurity. When you have 3 out of 4 bands become legendary, it's a pretty good comp.
Yeah.
And they are not in the noise book because they couldn't get hold of them. So I think they really fell off the radar completely.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask, has any one of you heard this Swedish punk band, Crude SS?
No.
Nope, don't know that.
This is a weird thing because they lived right where I grew up and they started to play at exactly the same time as Hellhammer, and they sound exactly the same. It's the same guitar sound and a little bit more punkish vocals, but this really is the missing link between Hellhammer and Celtic Frost. Is this band?
Okay.
You really should listen to it because it's so uncannily similar. And I talked to the vocalist of that band a couple of years ago, and he said, yeah, people told us we sounded like Hellhammer and Celtic Frost. And I listened to them, and I was like, it's uncanny. This could have been us.
Right? And they were right around the same time?
Yeah, so they had zero influence from each other. They must have had, the same distortion pedal, the same speakers, because it's so natural. Tom's sound is just the stuff he had and his hands. I mean, so
you could also kind of compare it to Amoebics. I mean, if a punk band like Crude SS is inspired by Amoebics, for example, that could be kind of translate down a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. Tycho says Dark Avenger had a demo from 85, but he has not heard it. So, I never even knew they had a demo.
Did you want to talk on that comp at all, Alan? Thank you for getting that for me, by the way. I don't know if that was a birthday present or Christmas. I can't remember, but I was always on the
it
hunt
was a
for
gift.
that.
You needed a copy of that. I found that one and knew who to send it to.
There's this to say that who made the death metal logo?
I think it was Tom Warrior, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it looks like his style.
Certainly style.
He had a definite style, and he was a good graphic designer, or
And you
yep,
know
that one too. Yep.
And this is a band who really needed his help, because if you look at the back cover of this record, you can see he has just written Hyrax himself on his T-shirt.
Yeah. Not the same.
Some help from Tom Warrior is definitely needed there.
I think they still use the logo too, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, because they just had something out not long ago. Still has the same old logo.
But they were so great. I mean, Tom and Martin, they made all these different kind of fonts and logos, and they worked so hard on the visuals.
Designed the logos, the heptagram, all that stuff. Very cool.
Yep.
Anything on the comp, Alan?
Oh, just you get 2 more Hellhammer originals here, and as Daniel mentioned at the beginning, by the time this actually came out, Hellhammer had already been laid to rest. Tom and Martin understood the project had probably ran its course, that they'd already established themselves, they'd kind of painted themselves into a corner really quick with this band, that it was so extreme, over the top, did this very primal, feral kind of thing. And it connected with people. They were getting a great response through the underground from tons of people that liked it. But they also understood it wasn't going to let them do anything else, that it was going to have a real low ceiling to how much they could ascend. So yeah, like Daniel was saying, they were already working on all kinds of, visuals, concepts, working out how do we take the next step forward. And part of that was, having to actually change the name of the band. So, and that means the Hellhammer catalog is pretty short. You've got the demos, you've got the EP and a couple of compilation tracks. That's about it. There's, of course, a million bootlegs and reissue things out there. They packaged all the songs together for the Apocalyptic Raids 1990 AD CD press, which was the first time I got any Hellhammer stuff. They've put out, other things. This one I think is official, if I remember right. It's a Century Media thing, just a picture disc with some of the old demo tracks. So Hellhammer's proven to have a very long shelf life, even though there's just not a ton of material here. People are still interested and connect with that sound, even though Tom and Martin pretty quickly moved on to some other stuff. Your last thoughts as we start to wrap up the Hellhammer portion, Marty?
No, other than this is an amazing cover. It was banned, and it's kind of funny that the guy here that was getting his guts eaten actually looks like Hellhammer from Mayhem.
I hadn't thought of that,
It's like,
but yeah, kind of does.
What the hell's going on here? A little foreshadowing, perhaps, but no.
You mean what the Hellhammer's
What
going
the
on?
Hellhammer's going on? Yeah, very good comp. Revelations of Doom and Messiah are the 2 Hellhammer tracks, and excellent. And you get to hear the Orange of Life from Halloween, which never appears on anything else. So
it was later released with a censored cover. And if you have that, hang on to it, because that is much, much rarer.
Jürgen has that. He's shown that on his channel before. He has both copies of that. Yep.
I think also worth to mention here is that Hellhammer never played live. And that is very weird for underground brands. It's usually the other thing. They play every single tiny gig they can get. And this band worked differently. And in this magazine that I got, they actually speak about how cool the Hellhammer gigs are. It's a complete invention.
Maybe a couple friends came over to the bunker. Yeah. Right.
I'm guessing that was just a fact of there really wasn't much of a scene in Sweden that they could have gone out and played in. They would have had to have probably hopscotched over to Germany or somewhere else to try to even have a chance at live gigs.
Yeah.
Tom mentions that a lot, especially in those early years. Switzerland just wasn't known for a huge music scene, and certainly not for anything like what they were doing, having bands break out onto more of an international stage.
But as I have understand it, I think their rehearsals was more or less like gigs. They rehearsed as if they were playing live, which you can see when you see footage of the earliest Celtic Frost gigs. They already had it.
Yeah. You know what they were doing, for sure. Which brings us to the change of name. And I've got, thanks to Aaron the Metal Theologian, I got a rehearsal June of 84 Celtic Frost bootleg of some sort.
Yep.
And again, Daniel's correct. All of their photographs were completely spot on. I mean, everything they did was scary. And this is a cool set because it's got both Celtic Frost and Hellhammer tracks in their set. It's got Return to the Eve, Messiah, Into the Crypts of Rays, Visions of Mortality, Procreation of the Wicked, Morbid Tales, Dethroned Emperor, and Nocturnal Fear. So, and it doesn't sound bad. I was shocked.
Yeah. Messiah stayed in their set list for quite a while as Celtic Frost.
Yep.
I also have this. It's another rehearsal.
Awesome.
There's that guy Isaac Darso that was in Celtic Frost for like a week. He looked great, so he's in many photos from that time, but he never recorded anything with it.
But there's no demos leading up to this. I think the Hellhammer stuff could probably be considered Celtic Frost demos, but that brings us to 1984's Morbid Tales. Obviously a very humongous, and it was always, I learned recently, this was an EP in Europe. I always thought it was a full-length album because of the US Metal Blade editions.
Also in Canada.
Yep.
With a speed metal.
So, big change between Hellhammer and Celtic Frost. Was there or was there not much of a change? What do you think, Daniel?
But the sound and the vocals are there, but it's, it sounds so good, Morbid Tales.
Yeah.
It's together, everything fits, and except for the fantastic guitar sound and the fantastic vocals and the trademark, Tom's greatest contribution to the world of art. There is Stephen Priestley. He doesn't get mentioned so much as important for Celtic Frost's sound, but his drum beats on this record is the trademark Celtic Frost. The down da 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 down da da, and his double kick drums and his D beat, all of it is like, for me, the Celtic Frost trademark drum beats, and he's probably on the limit of his capability, like all of them I think are here, but it's perfect. They found that perfect spot. All the songs are great. Everything is fantastic. And this, I always consider this an album, even though if it only had 6 tracks in Europe, 6 tracks is enough. It's an album. And then in America and Canada, it was 8 tracks. So an album for sure. And Tom has said that I always consider it an album and not a cheap mini album.
Yeah. Alan, your thoughts?
Yeah, and as y'all were showing off, there are some different rehearsal things. There's a lot of bootlegs from like that early Celtic Frost era. This one has rehearsals from June of 84 on it called Procreation of the Wicked. This one, Only Demos Are Real, has some live tracks if I remember right, but yeah, then also several recording rehearsal type things from like here in 84. I think there's a couple from early 85 on here too.
Yeah, there's 85 tracks too.
Okay, I thought there was, this one I haven't played in a while. It's a weird 2 LP set where one is on colored vinyl and one is not. So you get a green album and a black album, but I think it's also only 3-sided. So really, really weird underground kind of press stuff. But then, you get to Morbid Tales. And Morbid Tales is, of course, a classic. My copy's the Metal Blade. And the Metal Blade one, I also came with the big poster, which was kind of cool. Has 2 extra tracks tacked onto it, like you said, Marty. The 2 tracks were recorded later. and they may have originally been recorded for a compilation album that came out, but it's Dethroned Emperor and actually Morbid Tales, the song. But
I think it's the same recording, isn't it?
I don't know. Some of the liner notes say, and let me double check here, because again, it's easy to get these mixed up. Said that these were from a February 1985 recording session, but the EP came out in November of 84. And there was some compilation, something like Metal Attack, that came out in there. So it may have been recorded, intended for the compilation, and then got tacked on to the international.
Because it's always weird to me that the track Morbid Tales wouldn't be on Morbid Tales.
Yeah, that throws me too when I realized that's one of the quote unquote like bonus tracks for the North American release. Like the title track wasn't going to be.
No, I always thought they were recorded at the same time.
There's not much of a difference in sound. Yeah, I had never noticed.
They definitely have Stephen Priestley on them, and I think he quit the band straight after the recordings.
Yeah, it may have been, maybe it was one of the last things they did with them or something. But either that, or it could be, again, there's an error in some of the liner notes that are posted. But yeah, whether it's the 6-track version or the 8-track version, it's a fantastic set of songs. You can, of course, they had the reissue CDs. It's printed a little dark, but you get the original design, and these are the ones that Tom got to help spruce up and make sure they sounded the way he wanted them to. So it was a nice set of reissues. But yeah, it's fantastic. This was when I finally heard this from Frost. This is where I really connected with Frost. Yeah, I got through that early awkward Cold Lake and Parched with Thirst collections stage. And Morbid Tales, I'm like, okay, now I see why everybody makes a big deal out of this band. And I played this a ton when I finally got it, and will still play it from time to time. It's not something that sits on the shelf and just collects dust. One thing I think that's worth mentioning on it, we always think, of early Celtic Frost is, yes, the whole, and, just this, crazy guitar sound and all that. But you do have very early signs of this more avant-garde ambient streak. You've got Danse Macabre with this 3+ minutes of weird, eerie soundscape on here. So I think it gets overlooked sometimes when we get to the more progressive stuff that's going to come a little bit later. Folks are like, oh, Frost changed so much. It's like, well, yes and no, but they've had that in their sound really.
Yeah, they had
the official release.
The female vocals on Return to the Eve, and
yeah, exactly. So yeah, they were already tinkering with things, and Tom had said him and Martin really sat down here in the transition from Hellhammer to Frost and kind of mapped out how they wanted the project to progress. That they had all these ideas already kind of swirling around in their heads. And so again, it's not just, random accidents that, oh yeah, we happen to, grab some lady and have her do some vocal lines. They were really planning ahead. As you said earlier, Daniel, they were always kind of, a couple of steps ahead.
Yeah. And I also think that
mapping it out
in their heads, they already wanted to make the next thing that they were not capable of yet. So I think that's why they were always disappointed with what they make, I think, because their minds were already set on something new.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that they seem to have been happy with straight away is Morbid Tales, because that studio production made them sound better than they thought they could sound.
Yeah.
And I think it's the best sounding thing they ever did. I think this is the #1 extreme metal album of all time. Nothing beats it in my book.
Well,
it's really good. I've heard, sorry, Daniel. I just want to ask real quick, because you may know this. I remember reading at some point that the original tapes for Morbid Tales were lost at some point. Were those ever found, or was that?
Well, that's from Tom's. That's from the Oreo Morbid book, I think, that he tried to blackmail Noise Records to get more money for the production, credits. So I don't know if they were really lost or not, but it's in there.
Okay.
But, the band name, I would say, Celtic Frost is such a fantastic band name. It's and it was originally going to be called Celtic Fire, but then Tom looked at this album and realized, no, Frost is cooler, and he's damn right. Celtic Fire would not have survived as long.
No, not quite as good. No, and that's a great album to look at for any number of reasons.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because the thanks on the back of Morbid Tales says, thank you very much and hello to Sirith Ungol and crew, Caton and Hyrax. So thanking his influence.
The Celtic Frost logo, I think it's fantastic. It's one of the best.
Yep.
And have you seen the movie Mandy with Nicolas Cage?
No.
I don't think so.
Because
it doesn't ring a bell.
It's a revenge movie with very bloody, and he makes an axe in that movie based on the F or the Celtic Frost logo. So he's running around with this F from the Celtic Frost logo and killing a bunch of people. So you should really see it.
Wow. Well, for me on this album, I mean, this thing is just so amazingly heavy, and getting this thing back in the day, obviously my head wants to put it in the thrash bin because that's where everything went, because that's what was happening at the time. But, in hindsight, this is a very much a proto-death album in a lot of ways.
That's what it is.
That thick-ass guitar tone. And again, it is the Hellhammer guitar tone, just captured better. You could tell they're still turned up loud. It has that loud live in a bunker vibe, What were you going to say, Daniel?
The Celtic Frost guitar tone is the foundation for the Entombed guitar sound. And I think those are the two most distinctive guitar tones in metal.
Agreed. Yep.
Yep.
And Alan, you nailed it. You took words right out of my mouth with Dance Macabre. I remember hearing it for the first time and laughing. But this is the first sign that you're getting a band that is, their ideas are already far beyond what's happening in the scene. Basically, if you've never heard this record for some reason, this Dance Macabre is basically like a music box melody, ding, 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 with a guy like chanting along with it, like la, la, la. It's kind of the anchor through the whole track, but the background music, it's like this flourish of violin strings, and it's scary. It feels like you're going into hell, and it gives it like an 80s horror soundtrack vibe.
It's basically based on the soundtrack for Suspiria with Dario Argento 77 movie. Yeah, it sounds similar.
Yep. But still, they're doing it with real instruments and real atmosphere. It's not, nowadays people just cue it up on their keyboard and make something. This here, it felt like there was real instruments being played, real violins, real things happening. And the overall, psychological impact of the track was kind of something unexplored for this style of music, I think, anyway. Yep. So,
I mean, kudos. It was a new style of music, so it was all kind of wide open. And like you said, Marty, this is already kind of hinting at, why Frost is such a beloved and long-lasting entity.
Yep.
You can put it in the thrash bin. It's not a stretch, especially in 1984 when thrash is just getting up and running.
Yep.
But you can consider it early death metal, and there's the black metal influence that has already come up a couple of times.
Yep.
Frost, it's one of those nexus bands that out of this, so many different divergent things would hear sounds they liked and take it and run with it, but in completely different directions. Their music would influence, everything from, crazy underground Norwegian black metal to Nirvana. It's just nuts. You don't see that very often where a band has when you look at the family tree of everybody who's tracing their influences traces back to a band like that. And they're just so spread out.
And their visual aesthetics too, to follow up on how cool everything looked. Here's the back of Apocalyptic Raids. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. Here's the back of Morbid Tales. We have basically the exact same aesthetic. And is there better band photos? I mean, that Steve Priestley picture is just fucking evil, man.
And that picture is actually from his brief time in Hellhammer.
Right. And
he didn't
Tom's
look cool.
picture too is fucking awesome. I mean, damn it. They just had all the bases covered. Whether, back then you liked it or not, it was too weird or out there. They were doing something that, Venom touched on. I mean, Venom had the photos back in the day too. How can a dude in leather pants get down and do the splits like Venom did on the inside of Possessed? That's just that deserves a photo for sure. But what comes next in 1985 is this EP, Emperor's Return.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, you want to throw some thoughts on this one?
Again, no live gigs for Morbid Tales either. And Stephen Priestley, even though they thought he would continue with the band once the record was done, he didn't. So they had to find another drummer, and they found that cool-looking American. He was playing in a band called Crown, if you ever heard this band.
Have not.
No. And he has a different name here. It's Reed Cruikshank. They changed it to Reed St. Mark in Celtic Frost. And I think it's a very accomplished drummer, so it's a little bit of a change. And he lied and said, I know exactly how to play double kick drums, though he didn't. But he was a jazzy drummer, but he picked it up very quick, which you can hear on Emperor's Return. And I think the standout track is A Circle of the Tyrants.
Sure.
Which is just one of those all-time classic, fantastic songs. And he, Reed St. Mark, he does an incredible thing on that song. It's the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da with his switch from the bass drums to the snare. And that is one of the greatest moments in Celtic Frost history. I mean, the recording is done in Zurich in some cheap studio, so the sound is nowhere near as good as on.
Still very live sounding though, which is cool.
Yeah, but it's a bit muffled.
Yeah,
compared to Morbid Tales. And the cover, I think it was some guy in America made it. It's cool, but it's
the guy
not...
that did all the noise stuff. That Lavera. Yeah.
But I think it's not as good as the Tom Warrior drawing on the Hellhammer EP or the heptagram on Morbid Tales. This is a little bit goofy for Celtic Frost. But it works.
I don't know. There's something about the cover that speaks to me. I don't know what it is. Can't put my finger on it. Yeah. Your thoughts on this one, Alan?
So yeah, another, if you want to consider Morbid Tales and technically an EP, then this is a really great follow-up EP. Yeah, the change in drummer is a thing. And I was just double checking, and with the recording on this one, Morbid Tales and Dethroned Emperor were both recorded in late 84. And then the rest of these tracks were recorded in early 85. And then the EP was released in late 85 around August. And those two tracks, they got recorded ahead of time. And it would have been late 84. I said like February 85 earlier, but yeah, that was not right. They got recorded.
I think it's the same 84. Recording as Morbid Tales.
And they ended up on another sampler album, Metal Attack Volume 1, which had Celtic Frost with Dethroned Emperor and Morbid Tales. And that came out in April of 85. So yeah, they had, two songs done kind of early that ended up being on the comp, and then also used, I guess, as the bonus tracks for the North American versions of Morbid Tales.
But it's a different lineup, so I never liked that those songs are on here. And in Canada, they're not.
Oh, they're not on the Bonsai pressing?
No.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I don't have the Bonsai pressing. I've got, a noise and a metal blade.
Yeah, mine's a metal blade.
For Emperor's Return. Like the EP a lot. I feel like it fits together pretty well with the Morbid Tales material, even though there's obviously been some changes along the way. And these two get packaged together quite a bit of the time. This is an old, I think this is an 89 CD pressing that is Morbid Tales and Emperor's Return as basically a split, combined kind of thing.
Who put that out? Because mine is that, but different. It's got the Morbid Tales cover on it, but it has the picture on the inside of the Emperor's Return.
This is an old noise CD pressing.
I'm going to fill up on coffee here.
Go for it. Sorry.
Sure thing.
We're nerding out on pressings.
Yeah, it's not the first CD pressing of this that Noise did, but yeah, this one I had to poke around for a while and figure it out. But it's a 1989 CD press.
Oh, this is a 96 Noise press repress. Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of versions that combine Morbid Tales and Emperor's Return, which makes sense. They fit together nicely. Stylistically, they're close enough. It's not jarring to go from one to the other. So yeah, I think it's more really top-notch stuff. The band's building to a full-blown album here that we'll get to when Daniel's back. But yeah, no, I really like the Emperor's Return stuff just fine. Your thoughts on it, Marty?
Yeah, this is a cool EP for sure. I do love the artwork, and
it's got kind of a comic book thing to it, but it's more like the underground Conan, sort of Conan type art or heavy metal magazine art, not overly cartoonish.
Agreed, 100%. And the fact that it's got 5 songs on it, so it's not just a single. It feels like a substantial release. And then you've got the version of Visual Aggression, I think, with the theatrical, elongated hey type stuff on there. It's just set it apart from Morbid Tales, and always laugh at that stuff. But yeah, and of course they still have their style down, and they're just chilling in their leathers here. There's no helm or axes or anything. They just got the subtle black metal makeup on and chilling with their new US homie here.
Yep, still doing the again, as we've mentioned, the visual aesthetics were always important to this band. It would become a sticking point before much longer, though.
Yeah.
While they were trying to do very specific things with their aesthetics.
I think Reed St. Mark never really looked the part.
No, he was too pretty.
He's the pretty boy of the band, so it's hard to make him look really grim and morbid and everything, because he was a handsome man, and him and all the ladies were very much aware of it.
I think they started the clash pretty early on because he was a drinker and Martin and Tom were not. So,
well, that takes us to 1985. Still, we're in 1985 with the band's. Well, I guess. Is this a full length, their debut full length, or is this the second? I always thought it was the second.
Yeah, second.
I think most people consider it the second, but yeah, we can call it the second. I got no problem with that.
And we got some other guy. Who the hell? Look at that hair. That's like a hair metal hair.
He doesn't belong there.
No, he doesn't belong there.
It comes from a hair metal background.
All right. What are your thoughts on this one, Daniel?
I mean, it's a fantastic album. What can you say? The Usurper, what a song. It's one of those all-time great metal songs.
And this album, what a banger. All the bangers are on here.
Yeah, this album has a bit more swagger than the Morbid Tales. It's a part of the drum is a bit more loose and jazzy, but also Tom is more confident in what he's doing. He's singing, and it's like almost laid back.
Yeah,
the way he sings, and it's so fucking good. And the album cover. Oh, here I have my. It's the best metal album cover of all time. But it's cheating. You take one of the best artists of all time and take one of his pictures. So it's But they asked him in '83, and it's like they have the right to use it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The things I don't like about this album is the lack of Martyrdöd. He should have been on this record, and I think Tom would agree that it. But I think it was Martin's decision. He had some personal problems, I think, and needed to get away. Maybe they should have waited until he could do it.
Yeah.
And I don't like the guy, Dominic Stein. I don't like his bass playing. You can't hear much about it because the bass is pretty low in the mix and the guitar sound is dominating. So it's not a big problem. The sound is a bit more shiny and big than Morbid Tales. Personally, I prefer Morbid Tales, but it's splitting hairs because this is fantastic in every sense. And my favorite track is the old Hellhammer track, the Necromantical Screams, which is a reworking of Buried and Forgotten from
Very
the
cool. Yeah.
Satan. That song is just incredible.
Yep. Steve Warrior's only song credit on here. The rest is well, no, it isn't actually. That's Ian Martin's.
Yeah,
Steve Warrior gets Tears in a Prophet's Dream songwriting credit on this one.
that's cool. Since he quit the band in '83.
Yeah. Very cool.
But this is '85. The progression is so fucking quick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At those first '83 demos and this, it's like night and day.
Your thoughts on this one, Alan?
Yeah, that's a really great point, Daniel. Yeah, we were saying that, those original Bunker demos were recorded in June '83. This album is on the shelf by October of '85. So barely 2 years later. Huge steps forward. It's an excellent album. Daniel's made a ton of great points about it. I don't play it as much as I do Morbid Tales. I also kind of gravitate back towards Morbid Tales and Emperor's Return a little more often than this, but that's not to say this is not a really good album. And yeah, I think bright and more powerful is a great way to describe it. I would use those exact same words. Yeah, I mean, the band's just kind of going from strength to strength, and it's all coming together. They're getting, the cover art they want. They're really bolstering the sound. You're getting, again, more hints of this experimental artistic flair. You've got, some big timpani kind of sounding things. You've got another experimental track, but it works within the context of the album, even though it's like, that's weird and different, but it never makes me like stop and be like, oh, what the hell is that? I don't like that or something. It's just like, okay, you've got this other elements to this album too. It keeps the album from feeling one-dimensional, that they make it very clear early on. They're not going to be Hellhammer Part 2. They're not just going to sit there and grind and bash them out over and over. They're going to do odd stuff, and that's okay. So yeah, a top-notch album. Just I will, like Daniel, I'll go to the earlier stuff more often, but when I play this, I'm always blown away by how great it really is. This is a point where they do start to run into some issues with noise. Yeah, the record label, they start to have some tensions. The original vinyl press was supposed to have additional artwork for, I guess, like the inner sleeve. I'm not sure if it was in a separate insert or something, but there was supposed to be like an additional piece of artwork included in it. And at the last second, Noise, by Tom's telling, cheaped out and didn't want to include the extra thing. So, switch back over to Daniel. He's showing the insert it does have with it.
I think this is the thing that was supposed to be in it. And they put it in some of the copies, but not many. And this poster is so difficult to find. This is one of the cases when without the poster, you can find a record for maybe $100. With the poster, I would say $500. That's how rare it is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
That's very cool. Yeah, but it was supposed to have been standard issue. So this was where Tom and Martin started to be like, hey, that's not how we wanted it done. And by this point, yes, they were both very particular about, we want it done this way. Carl Walter Bach at Noise wanted it done the way that made Carl the most money, it seems, in many cases. Yeah. And not just with Celtic Frost. This is very well documented across the Noise roster. So you've got a great album. They get out and tour to support this album. We can talk about that a little bit in a minute. But so, yeah, things are going well. But there are a couple of little tensions popping up. Again, Martin is on hiatus here, which is a shame, and the artwork's not quite what they wanted it to be, which is a shame. And there's a tour, but we can get to the tour in a second. Marty, what are your thoughts about to Mega Therion before we maybe go on the road for a moment or two?
I think Aaron cracked the caper. They put the poster in the Frankenchrist album instead. Yep. All right. Well, for me, everybody summed this up, but you looking at the the credits, I see a guy that has kind of the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's following up a well-received, heavy-ass album, and he's doing a lion's share of the songwriting himself. And say what you want, The Usurper, Jewel Throne, Circle of the Tyrants. I mean, that alone, yeah, the riffs in those songs, them songs themselves will stand the test of time. They're just absolute, perfectly created, sculpted, considered songs, and fit perfectly within, the whole dynamic of what they're trying to do. And the addition of things like the timpanis and really accented, it capitalizes on that theatrical cinematic feel that would, eventually become a much bigger focus for the band. So again, we've got another album that it's a slight progression. You don't want to call it a lateral move because it feels like it's a little bit ahead in precision and artistic consideration. There's a lot of little bells and whistles happening here to make these songs a bit more exciting as well. So I don't know. I think the album cover is a perfect representation of what lies within it. And I think this is a band, cheers to Tom Warrior for, buckling down and writing some of the best material in his career, really. I mean, they're all by himself, and that's got to be a lot of pressure. And so a great, amazing album. And the next year, 1986, before we get into what happens,
I must say one thing first.
Yep.
The song Circle of the Tyrants is not as good on Morbid Tales as it was on Emperor's Return. And that is because he doesn't do that dagada 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 dagada. He does it all on the kick drums, and he loses the biggest piece of magic he ever created.
Right.
And I always miss that when I heard the album. Oh no, why did it change it?
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But 1986, Tom did a little bit of moonlighting, helped out his buddies in the band Corner, and did the vocals for their Death Cult demo. Thoughts on this? Absolute fantastic. And then, Corner were friends to Celtic Frost. They were eventually their roadies, drum, bass, guitar techs, and went on the road with them in the U.S., amongst other places, I'm sure. Thoughts on Corner's Death Cult?
That was a demo that I completely didn't pass my way in the 80s.
Right.
And the first time I heard it was actually when I had a death metal band called Incision in the 2000s, and we went...
Killer band, by the way.
Crazily enough, we went to Thailand to play in 2004, and the guy who picked us up at the airport, he had that demo playing in the car as we were going to the gig. Cool. And I was like, what is this? This sounds like Celtic Frost. And he's like, yeah, it's Coroner. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And the best thing about that demo is the vocals. It's so good.
I like the music too.
Yeah,
I really like this early era. Spiral Dream. Come on, man. What a great song.
The last song is it Invincible?
Yep, The Invincible.
Oh, that song is fantastic.
Yep.
But the Coroner is such a fantastic band. The R.I.P. record. Fucking great.
My God. Talk about a dark, majestic, evil album. God, that thing is so good. They never did another one like it. As they kind of got more busy as they went along, but
too busy in the end.
Yeah. Alan, do you have any thoughts on Death Cult?
I don't. I haven't heard it in forever, so nothing much to say on that. But 86 is a year where Tom's doing that kind of stuff. They have the they play North America for the first time. They do the World War III show in Canada with Voivod.
Yep.
They get to do a limited tour in the U.S., all again with Voivod and Running Wild, old compilation mates from the death metal album. That went well for two of the bands, not so much for Running Wild. But
did they ever get back to America?
I don't think they ever have. I honestly don't think Run Wild has ever played a North American show since then. Could be wrong, but I think that really did sour Ralph on even trying to crack some of the foreign markets. It's like, we got a good thing going in Europe. Maybe we'll just stick to Europe.
You have no history with pirates.
Right.
But the other thing that comes out of that touring cycle, and Tom tells plenty of great stories about that, in the book, but they, some shows go better than others, of course. There's all kinds of debauchery. They're out all of a sudden 2 years ago. Yes, they're playing in a bunker. Now they're touring America. It's on a scaled down thing. It's, the rock star dream come true. But one thing they did notice, they started out the tour really open to fans, getting up on stage with them, singing with them, diving off the stage. They had no problem with it for a while. But as the tour went on, they kind of rapidly realized it was often getting out of hand, that, there were too many knuckleheads showing up, not wanting to just participate, but to fuck things up, mess with equipment, hurt people, not just, stage diving for fun, but, aiming to, injure people. And so even during that tour, Tom relates that, him and Reed, would sit down and, started talking about how they were not comfortable with this. They didn't really like being part of the scene if it was going to foster this kind of violence. And so they started thinking like, well, what do we do then? How do we maybe distance ourselves from this? And, in Tom's view, this was where they kind of started to really plant some of the seeds for why the next album was going to be so different. That, to Mega Therion, it still very much feels in line with what Celtic Frost had done on the previous EPs. But the next album is going to be extremely different. And this is part of the reason why, that they wanted a statement that's like, we're going to make another album, yes, but it's not going to be an album that, a bunch of, morons are going to want to come out and, try to bust people's skulls to. We're going to record something different that maybe tries to, that kind of element will not be interested in us because we're not interested in them being part of our audience anymore. So one of the interesting kind of serious, decisions that got made in the midst of this very wild and raucous tour across the U.S.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm a big early Corner fan, and this demo is special for the fact, Tom Warrior singing your on it, but it's 4 songs that are completely unique to this demo, and which is super cool as well. And they're not really throwaway tracks that I feel anyway. I mean, you hear Spiral Dream, Aerial Combat. Isn't that the instrumental on here? I don't remember. I haven't listened to this in a hot minute, but it shows right away a band that was technically very much in tune with their instruments and ready to try something a little bit more exciting. I mean, I would have rethought that frilly bust that he's wearing there. That thing there is something else. But absolutely great start. And having your buddy Tom sing on it, he sounds like Tom Warrior on there, and it adds a nice touch. You're used to hearing him on those heavy plodding, crushing riffs, and there's a lot more note-based trickery going on here. And this bootleg is cool because it has the Arrogance and Uniform and Hate Fire Blood songs that were on the Doomsday News comps that were exclusive to those comps. So it's
nice.
Kind of a cool bootleg to have scooped up. So if you can find this 6-track banger out there, I'm sure it's been bootlegged into submission, but awesome. And that leads us to 1986. We have Tragic Serenades. Mine is a radio promo from that channel I was talking about. It's got writing all over it. This is a 3-song album or single. What are your thoughts on this one, Daniel?
I mean, it has Martin Ain's added bass on. Doesn't make much of a difference, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
Tom
maybe-
always makes a big deal out of this. He feels like this is the definitive recording from this era of Frost.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much of that is really a sound difference or
Yeah, but
just
he's
the fact
right.
that Martin was back in the band and Dominic was out of the band.
I think it's very important that Martin is on it, and he should have been on the album.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's great. What's not good about this is the Return to the Eve studio jam. I don't like that because he took away Martin Sant Reed. Reed Sank Mark took away that Stephen Priestley downbeat, dun, 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 and replaced it with doubled kick drum. And
Yeah.
that takes away the original magic for me. And it's a studio jam. They're goofing around, and it's like, hey,
Yeah.
not really serious.
Yeah.
But I like the photo on the cover.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
It's apparently from Martin's black room, as he calls it.
Yep. Yeah, he had an altar and everything kind of set up there in his. I don't know if he had an apartment or.
You can
house
see
or
this
whatever.
record is ruined all around. That's because it's my wife's copy, and she was originally punk, and then she saw 2 Mega Therion in the store and said, "What the fuck is this record? I need to hear this." And then she was converted to a metalhead, and she plastered all the Celtic Frost records on her wall. So
Oh, right.
all of her copies looks like this.
The tape just doesn't come off after it sticks for 6 months.
On my birthday, when we originally met, she gave me this.
Yes.
And I took her to meet Tom Warrior straight after that. So it was the perfect
That's awesome. Yeah.
hookup.
All right. Any thoughts on this one, Alan?
I mean, it's fine. It's not necessarily essential. Again, yes, you get redone versions of 2 great tracks, and it's cool to have Martin on board. But yeah, it's not like they've reinvented the songs from scratch or anything. And then yes, you've got the Return to the Eve jam thing. So it's funny because the
Party
first 2
mix.
EPs we are seminal. They're very important. It's all this cool stuff. Now we get into a point where Celtic Frost EPs don't really feel that necessary for a while. Again, it's one of those kind of things. If you've got it, it's cool. It's fine. Personally, it's not one I've ever bothered to go track down because I don't need to. There's 3
No, you need a
songs.
cover.
The cover is cool. Yeah, but that's the kind of thing you're almost just paying just to have the cover on the shelf. It's the tracks have been put on as bonus tracks on other things.
On
by
the
now.
wall, not the shelf. See?
Yep, can just tape it right up there. But it's not that it's a bad EP. It just feels like it's an unnecessary EP. Cool if you've got it, not something to go spend a fortune tracking down because there's just nothing really that distinctive about it in terms of the contents.
I think it's like a welcome back to Martin. He was
Makes
out
sense.
of the band for a few months, and it's so annoying that it's not on 2 Mega
Yep.
Therion.
Yeah.
It bothers me. I
It's,
can wake up at night and why is Martin not on?
Yeah, it was also a chance. This was another issue that had popped up with 2 Mega Therion that Tom wasn't satisfied with the final mix, and pretty early on he was already needling Carl a bit about wanting a chance to go back and remix parts of it. He's like, it doesn't sound quite right. This could sound better. It could be better. And so with Martin back on board and Carl's like, okay, we can put out another product. The band's, we've got a break here in 86 between albums. So let's put something on the shelf. Martin's back in. Okay, sure. Go back in and tweak 2 songs and get them to sound better. So I think that's another reason Tom likes these versions. He did get to go in and quote unquote fix them so they sounded more like what he heard in his head for the 2 Mega Therion. So yeah, he didn't quite get the mix he wanted on to Mega Therion, didn't quite get all the extra artwork he wanted on to Mega Therion. Him and Carl are not seeing eye to eye so much. They also were disputes during that tour for 2 Mega Therion while they went across the US and had a lot of incredible experiences. They were also starting to see the really shitty business side of, what do you mean there's not enough money? What do you mean you've not been paying all the road crew? And who exactly is doing the accounting again? those things were starting to become more of an issue here, and it was only going to get worse heading into 1987.
Right on. Yeah, I have very little add on this other than, back in the day, in the 90s, that this little EP was kind of expensive, and I think it's continued to be expensive. I think they reissued it, didn't they? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm almost certain. Yeah.
But this is just a ragdown old radio promo, and it has Usurper, Jewel Throne, new versions, and then Return to the Eve, re-recorded version / party mix. So there you go. Reed St. Mark just can't seem to get with the program on the cool garb here. He's 2 belts with those tight pants. Come on, man. Got to show off the muscles too. But yeah, I mean, it's a single, an EP or whatever. It's cool for the collection, but doesn't hit the turntable very often. That leads us to 1987's Into the Pandemonium.
No,
it doesn't.
we have this first.
The 7-inch. Oh, yep.
I think this is probably the rarest Celtic Frost record.
What is it?
Probably so, yeah.
It's a single that came out before Into the Pandemonium.
Okay.
I think it's 1,000 copies only.
Wow.
And
okay.
it's just one song, a cover from Dean Martin's song from the 30s. I mean, Dean Martin didn't write it.
An old 30, yeah, it's original.
Yeah.
I forget who did the original, but yeah, it's an old 30s song. Like everybody.
Billy Hill is his name.
There you go. Yep.
And it's just a song. It's not even 3 minutes. It's just over 2 minutes long. But it's a really cool cover. This is something you should track down.
I've never even seen it.
I think it's on the compilation. So if you have the compilation, you will have it.
Parched with Thirst, that one?
Yeah, I think it's on there. But I think this is the best cover they ever made. They made it their own.
It's a cool design. Yep. Yeah, that's cool. I've never seen an actual copy of it until now. That's cool. Yeah. I've known about it, but never seen it.
I bought this ages ago, and it was $50 already back then. So now I don't know what you have to pay to get it.
Yeah,
probably too much.
And I don't know if the other single came before. I think it came after it, actually. So we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, that came after. Yeah.
They did it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show that later.
Yep.
All right. So, yeah, Into the Pandemonium. A very polarizing album. Your thoughts on that one, Daniel?
I am the one of the guys that really likes it. So, I mean, the cover art is great.
It is.
Hieronymus Bosch. It's, kind of gives you a feeling of doom. But I mean, the record itself is crazy. There's nothing like it. And in 87, I mean, take Metallica, Slayer, all the bands in the extreme metal scene, nobody has made anything like this.
No.
And still to this day, I don't know if anyone really has. I didn't pick this up immediately. I first heard a song from that compilation Doomsday News. It was the Mesmerized, which I think it's the best song on the album. I love that song.
Yeah.
So I went out and picked up this album, and I loved it. I still do. It's a Mexican Radio, that first song. I had no idea it was a cover at the time.
Oh, yeah. Wall of Voodoo.
Yeah, I've never heard about them. So I thought it was a Usurper kind of song, but more, upbeat, and it has a lot of swagger, and it's cool. I loved it back then, and I still do. But it's weird to start an album with a cover. You just don't do that.
No.
But especially on an album that is considered to be your grand masterpiece, you shouldn't have covers on it. But they did things differently.
Yeah.
And then the record just plummets on it. The craziest thing is the One of the Pride. What the hell is going on? To me, this is like the Beatles' White Album. It's just so many crazy ideas and different kind of songs jammed together. And many people see like the White Album, this kind of Beatles masterpiece. But my dad took me to school with this and said, no, Sgt. Pepper and those albums, they are studio products. the Beatles, avant-garde masterpieces are the early records. That's when they changed history of time, and it's the same with Celtic Frost. Their masterpieces is Morbid Tales and to Mega Therion.
Mhm.
This is sort of a studio product to me, but I like it.
Yeah.
The problem for me is that the sort of heavier songs, the Inner Sanctum and Babylon Fell, they are just not quite as good as the earlier The Usurper. If they would have had the same quality, I think this album would have been considered higher by more people. But I love it. I fucking love, especially those gothic songs, Sorrows of the Moon, Mesmerized.
Yeah. All right. Well, Alan, your thoughts. Oops.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have talked about this one in the past, Marty, so I won't belabor the point. It's the band trying to do a lot of things. I always feel like their ambition outstrips their resources, though. They're trying to do a lot of, very arty conceptual stuff, but they're having to splice it together on a shoestring budget. There's a lot of tensions that come up in the studio. Their noise is really not on board with what they're trying to do. And I don't know, at the end,
It kept blowing through their budget. That's probably why. Yeah.
I'm sure that was a big issue with it. And the album does some neat things. It's a very important album. I will never try to knock it in terms of its impact at all. What this does in terms of inspiring future generations of musicians to try all kinds of different things, undeniable. But at the end of the day, I just don't enjoy the album. And it's one I come back to from time to time and try to give it another spin, thinking, okay, maybe I'm finally mature enough to get it. And I've never really have. For me, it's one of those examples of an album trying to do too many things. And as such, it never comes together. I like it when songs on albums have their own personality, where each song is doing its own thing and feels distinct from the others. But I also like the album to have some kind of cohesive identity to it. And this album's identity is just that we're just going to do a whole bunch of weird stuff. And I mean, that's oversimplifying it, not putting words in their mouth or anything, but they're going to try to do the French track. We're going to do the hip hop One in Our Pride thing. We're going to do a cover of a Wall of Voodoo song. We're going to have vocals where I sound so sad. We're going to do heavy, there's still songs that have heavy riffs on this album. That's easy to forget sometimes, but there's still going to be some, very definite classic Frost kind of moments on here too. But it's such a jumbled up pile that I can't ever make. I can't sort through it. It just doesn't.
They had listened to this album for sure when they made this record, because the vocals are very,
yes, you're exactly. I'm glad you.
But I like it.
The Ross Williams influence is so all over his vocals there.
But I think still every vocal style he tries on his albums, all of them sounds pretty good. It's not later on he will try a vocal style that doesn't work at all.
That gets
but on
worse,
this album,
that's
I
fair.
think he has it under control here, and it sounds good. And also the sound is still the classic Celtic Frost guitar sound. It's a little bit different.
There is
not much.
It's still there.
So this is still connected to the old Frost sound more than you might think.
No, I agree. There is. Yeah, there definitely is an underpinning of Frost there. This is just the band really wanting to take that quantum leap forward. And again, for a lot of people, they achieved it, and that's absolutely great. I'm very glad a lot of people enjoy this album as much as they do. For me, it just feels like they're trying to make this giant, step forward, and they just don't quite stick the landing. For me, the album's just too all over the place for me to get into, but that is just me. Tons of people enjoy it, and that's awesome. Marty, your thoughts are also pretty well documented on this album, but what would you like to say for it this evening?
I admittedly haven't listened to this album in a very long time, so I put it on this week, hoping to, like Alan said, to have a revelation here. And listening to the album, I'm reminded how much I listened to this when it came out, because the songs I can sing along with. Listening to it again, Mexican radio, obviously a sticking point. First, I thought, they're blowing the budget. Walterbach probably doesn't want to pay for a cover, so they're like, you know what, we're putting the cover at the beginning of the album. Screw you. That's my thoughts of what happened. But the more I think about it, where else would this cover have fit on this record? At the end, it kind of deflates everything that happened before it. So if it has to be there, I guess the front is the only place to put it. Even though
one thing about that, Marty, in terms of placement, and I'm not sure, but in the books, Tom mentions they saw this as a potential hit for them. So it may have been a matter of putting it up front of the album because this was the song they were going to sort of trot out and do a video clip for and try to really get airplay with this track. So they may have actually put it up front because they thought it was the lead single in a way. But I'm not certain about that. I've heard other people claim they put it up front because they wanted to make this statement up front that, look, you're either on board with all of our new pretentious artiness, or you can just leave right now. If you can't handle this, don't even bother listening to the rest of our album. I don't agree with that assessment of it. I don't think that's what they were doing. And I've never seen anything that Tom wrote that would imply that was the case either.
Yeah.
But, he definitely thought that, yes, this song should have been pushed to get the band more visibility.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that's why it's up front. They really thought it would be the breakout.
It's a cool thing to do. I once went to see a band called Obnoxious Youth, Swedish heavy metal band. And they started a gig with Love Gun by Kiss. And it's just such a fuck you thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of this. Of course, Love Gun by Kiss is a song that everybody knows and loves in the metal scene. So all of voodoo,
You won me over already. You start off with Kid. Hey, we win so far. Win-win. And the rest of the album, Mesmerize is definitely kind of the achievement here for me. That's the experimentation. It all really kind of fits in here. You've got that weird. I don't know if it's a piano or what the hell, if it's just a clean guitar tone in there. The way they layered the song is very interesting. And I got to give them endless respect and props for trying something so bold for the time this thing came out. Was 87, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
God, balls of steel to just kind of throw all, convention to the side and say, okay, we've got, Inner Sanctum is kind of a return to the Frost heavy plotting, proto-death sound. Sorrows of the Moon, it's a Martin song, and this is where things start to get going into the more experimental. Babylon Fell, again, just weird stuff going on. Got bongos on this one. I mean, the bongos are a little distracting to me on here, to be completely honest. But side B, Crescent to Oblivion, is a pretty cool song. One in Their Pride. I think I listened to this and I'm reminded of Sisters of Mercy. Andrew Eldritch made a side project called The Sisterhood. And there's a song on his Sisterhood CD that this reminds me of. So I'm sure they're probably pulling from the Sisters of Mercy catalog a bit here on this. It's not used very effectively. It doesn't have the same impact, I don't think. I Won't Dance. This was weird for me because you've got this band that's been building like this avant-garde, theatrical, classical kind of vibe, and then you've got I Won't Dance with it might as well have been the Pointer Sisters doing the backup vocals on this thing.
Yeah.
You're changing culture in your music where you're trying to paint like this, Renaissance feeling type of musical project, and then you've got a slight culture shift. It's just, is it a catchy song? It is. It really is. And I see why they chose
That song was important to us back then because we had something called the school dances where you went supposed to dance with the girls.
Yeah.
But we had this was like our mantra, I want dance. We stood in the corner and drank soda with our Slayer t-shirts.
Right on.
So I love that song.
Yep. And, then you got Rex Irie. Requiem and Oriental Masquerade, I think they kind of started to fizzle a bit towards the end on this thing. And, again, endless kudos for trying something different, because it was bold, very bold. And I think just because you can try something doesn't mean you should try something. That's what, One in Their Pride is a prime example. And honestly, though I do think Tom's vocals largely work on, songs like Mesmerize, he switches back to his normal style on songs like Inner Sanctum, Babylon Fell. But where he's doing the more whiny, nasally type style, whether it's Christian death influenced or not, it isn't great. It doesn't sit well with me, I'll say that much. And oh shit, what was I just gonna say? And it totally left me. I really do applaud this record for what it did and what it still is. And you look at this thing and you're looking at it influenced a whole new crop of metal bands. You got bands like Therion, who changed their sound into something more theatrical and avant-garde like this. Bands like Beyond Dawn from Norway, or
Anathema, Paradise Lost.
Anathema, Paradise Lost. You got the band from Italy. The M starts with an M.
Messa?
What?
Not Messa.
No. The older band, they basically wrote something that sounded like Into the Pandemonium. Monumention?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay.
So, I mean, and then Vedwin Zende, stuff like that. It could be traced, the roots of that stuff can be traced back to this record. And
yeah, but on the other hand, the first two Celtic Frost record inspired every death and black metal band in the world.
Agreed.
So this is not as influential as all.
No. But it's influential for taking metal into weird areas,
Changed many bands, especially Swedish ones. Therion and Tiamat.
Yep.
Even Opeth.
Right. Mortuary Drape, someone said. That's a good call too. That's not who I was thinking of, but we got some weird stuff happening. Yeah. And shortly that year later, we've got the single I Won't Dance, which ultimately I think this is where the Mexican radio cover should have went. Basically, you've got I Won't Dance, One in Their Pride, and Tristeces de la Lune, all tracks from the Into the Pandemonium.
Well, except it wasn't.
Why?
Triestes, I think, was left off the original European pressing of the LP.
It was, but it was on the Canadian one.
It made it onto the North American pressings, but it was not on the European press, which was another big blow up between Carl and Tom and Martin. That
it's not on my LP.
They didn't even get the track list right when the album was pressed for Europe. So Tristes became one of those it was a non-LP track for European fans.
It's on
but
the
to
digital.
Be honest, it's not the Celtic Frost song. The lyrics are by Charles Baudelaire, and it's it's a orchestra playing the music. And I think the orchestra also wrote the music because they were not able to translate the song that they had into the string quartet. So it's not really Celtic Frost.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this one, or are we just going to kind of say that it was here and move? Other than the cover is fantastic.
I Won't Dance is a hit song. It is really. It's a hit song.
It is. It's got a good flow to it. It's a well-written song.
Yeah,
good chorus.
It's very unlike Celtic Frost.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
It's just I think that's the most commercial song he ever wrote. It's just a great song.
Thank you, Tony. That's it. Monumentum in absentia Christi is they kind of modeled their entire sound over after Into the Pandemonium.
Yeah, but I don't have anything to say about this EP. This material doesn't do anything. It's cool that Daniel's into the song. I don't like I Won't Dance. I don't like One in Their Pride. Triestes is okay, but I would not want the EP just to get that piece of music. So this is where they're really kind of losing me. I'm okay taking a break from Frost for this kind of thing. It's not for me.
Well, a year later we are gifted.
But I think on the tour of this record, that's when I wanted to see them, because they had an extra guitarist called Ron Marks, who can actually play guitar. So I think really they would have sounded really good on this tour. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they knew that this material
Ron Marks.
was not going to work with a 3-piece lineup in the live environment. So yeah, they brought in Ron and did another tour of the US for this material. But during this tour, the band was really falling to pieces. Just, the business side of things was really starting to consume them whole at this point. No money coming in, poor relationships with the label, not a lot of experienced folks put in charge of overseeing the tour. Didn't they tour with Exodus on this tour?
I think so. And Anthrax.
Yeah, and Anthrax later in the tour. Yeah, they started with Exodus, and then Exodus and Frost joined up with Anthrax. So they didn't get along with Exodus particularly well. I think they got along with Anthrax better when they joined up. But so yeah, just lots of everything not working right here. And at this point, you've got a couple of years of animosity that has started to build up. Going back to issues with Mega Therion in '85. Issues with the tour in '86, fighting to get this album put together and released in the first place. The studio sessions, it took forever for Pandemonium. They were drawn out, so it wasn't an easy album. They've been in basically a constant state of tension now for pushing towards 2 years, and the wheels just come off the bus. Not the tour bus. That's one of the only things that didn't go wrong. But the Celtic Frost bus basically pretty much is grinding to a halt at the end of this. And they figure they're kind of done. But there's just not going to be a way forward to do. They're locked into the stereotypical shitty noise contract where Carl owns their soul. There's no way he's letting them out of it. And they can't see doing anything with him. And so, by the end of this, it's, funny. They've got this groundbreaking album, and it's going over well live with Marks added to the lineup. But the business side of it is an absolute just wasteland.
I think they also made some bad decisions. They were offered to do the soundtrack to a movie called The Lair of the White Worm by Ken Russell.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided they didn't have time. And they should have decided they had time to do that.
Yeah.
Yep. Could have made. Yep. They did have that opportunity. Missed them.
Ken Russell's son, Xavier Russell, who wrote for Kerrang, was one of Celtic Frost's biggest fans. So
he pushed them really hard early on. Yep.
Tried to push his dad to use them for the movie, I guess. And he made later the Kerry Orchard's video.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, we're 1988. They released an album that would become a pariah in the metal world called Cold Lake. Daniel, I used to have this on tape and I got rid of it.
I also used to have it on tape and I also got rid of it.
I kind of regret it a little bit. Anyway.
The band quit and didn't exist for a while, I think.
Yeah, they were done, you're right. Yeah.
For some reason, Tom guarded a new lineup with Oliver Amberg, the guy who was in Hellhammer for a day. And he was also the original guitarist for Coroner. And even though they never released anything while he was in the band. But leading up to the two 7-inches that were released by Celtic Frost was in '88 too. Both came with magazines. So one from Soundwaves and the other one from Metal Hammer.
Huh. Okay. Cool.
It's a flexi disc.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Cold Lake, it has even Priestley back in the band. So it's more original Celtic Frost lineup than 2 Mega Therion.
Right.
But, the cover looks like this. Everything Celtic Frost did looked great up until this point. And I remember seeing this in the record store. And I looked at this, and then I turned the record around and saw the band photo.
Mm-hmm.
And I just put the record back.
Wise man.
It was no way in hell I was going to buy it.
The spidey sense is tingling, yes.
Yeah. And then, Carrie Orchards was a video that was played a lot on MTV. I didn't have MTV, but some friends had, so I saw it a couple of times, and I was like, no, that is not for me. So the first time I actually sat down and listened to this record was at least 10 years later, when I think there was a singer of the punk band I had at the time, Stefan. He said, no, you should listen to that record. It has some cool stuff on it. And it does. I think this it's an underrated record. It has a lot of cool riffs, most of them by Oliver Amberg. But they're not Celtic Frost riffs. They are like heavy metal riffs. And most of the songs have pretty good riffs. I mean, the intro is not good. That little rap is terrible. And the first song is bad, really bad. But then the rest of the songs on side A, all of them are pretty good. However, the sound is very bad, especially the drum sound. And Tom's guitar, you can't hear it. So the Celtic Frost signature sound is not there at all. And the worst thing is the vocals.
Oh,
I don't
bad.
It sounds like he's struggling to get to that voice. And I don't understand it, because he has the best voice in metal music. His natural, angry voice is so perfect, and he's trying to sing it's so bad. And also, we haven't mentioned this, but Celtic Frost always had great lyrics about dark history and occult.
Oh yeah, true. All kinds of stuff.
Great. And on this record, the lyrics are not good.
Seduce me.
It's not good.
No.
But I like the riffs on this record. I think there is some good songs, but they're buried under a bunch of nonsense.
All right.
That's
Alan.
my feeling.
Right on.
Yeah. So yeah, the resurrection was that during the Pandemonium touring cycle, that was sort of backed by other parties, not strictly by noise. Mark St. Reed had a lot of connections, and he had been able to sort of get them in touch with wealthy individuals who were willing to kind of dip their toe into the rock and roll world and support the band. And I think it was kind of that sort of side of things that kind of helped jumpstart the band here a bit. That Tom, Martin, everyone's done by the end of that tour. But then some of these guys are like, hey, you guys were actually pretty close to cracking through over here in the U.S. Why you gonna give it another go? We can. Some people were kind of offering to help. It's like we can. Still take another look at those contracts. We've got connections and stuff. This is also around the time, where Tom was dating someone, he had met on the road, who he would end up marrying. And, in his telling, a lot of it was, he felt like, okay, there's, some financial incentive to give this another try. But to do it for fun, not to just, the past 2 years again had just kind of sucked in terms of the stress levels they dealt with, to just kind of blow that off and say, screw it, I'm going to work with new people. We're not going to just kind of clean slate in a way, but with the financial backing of some folks who can help us push through. It wasn't a decision he made lightly, but he had been helping Oliver Amberg produce a demo or something for another project Oliver was working on. But then Oliver, kind of got wind that, there was a chance that, some people were talking to Tom about revamping Celtic Frost. And so Oliver was really enthusiastic about it and really wanted to come on board. And that kind of got Tom a little excited about it. So, yep, you ended up with this. I agree with Daniel. It's not like a complete disaster of an album. It's not a great album, don't get me wrong, but it's not the worst thing that has ever been produced under the banner of heavy metal. The look is all wrong. The aesthetics are all wrong. The lyrical message, yes. And all the packaging, which was a big part of Frost's appeal and had been cultivated very carefully by Tom and Martin for several years, it's all out the window here, and that does hurt a lot. you could forgive some of it if they moved in a more interesting direction. Yeah, but they're moving, yes, in a dance sleazy kind of direction for a lot of it. So there are some tracks on here that are okay. Yeah, side A is better than side B. It has its moments, but overall, it just doesn't fit. It's not what most folks are looking for out of a Celtic Frost experience. It's too close. It's wandered way too far off the beaten path. And Tom has always owned responsibility for this. He's like, yeah, I brought new guys in, and Marty, like you made the point earlier that early on, all the songwriting pressure was on Tom to produce the material. With this lineup, everybody was willing to collaborate. Oliver wanted to write. Kurt wanted to write. So he's like, oh, great. I don't have to do all this work. And he's like, I took my hands off the project a bit, and I backed off too much. We had, too many other ideas started flooding in. And again, he was sick of fighting with everybody and having it be just this constant, beating his head against the wall. You guys want to write songs? Cool. I can actually sit back and relax this time.
I think also Tom has gotten married during this time, or was
right around
about
this
to get
time. Yep.
and he was happy. So I think he didn't have the anger to put into the music anymore.
Yeah,
so.
he didn't. Yeah, he didn't want to, keep fighting, and it didn't. He wasn't. He wanted to distance himself from that, and he did, but to a fault.
And so, another thing that is wrong with this album is the fact that they have 3 guitarists in the band, because Kurt was also a guitar player, and Oliver, and none of them can play guitar solos. That's just the way it is.
Some folks just pointed that out in the chat. Yeah, that the leads here just are...
And the guitar leads are so loud in the mix, and it really makes you hear that the mistakes, and it just sounds bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Marty, your take on Cold Lake?
I listened to this album today. First time listening to this album in frickin' ages, and it's not even on Apple Music. You have to dig it up on YouTube, but Tom didn't want it on the Celtic Frost channel. But I will say this is a very confused record. You listen, there's a few traditional Celtic Frost riffs that kind of sneak out of the songs here. And there's some riffs there's some sleazy riffs. There's some really cool riffs on here. Musically, the album isn't bad. There's some interesting ideas. Like I said, there's more of a sleazy vibe on some of the songs. Like if someone made the comment, if it wasn't under the Celtic Frost name, the album wouldn't be as widely hated. I think I agree with that comment. If they would have changed the band to like Cherry Orchards or something, maybe it would have been a bit different. But really what kills this record for me is Tom's voice. And he's somewhere stuck between Into the Pandemonium whining and trying to be a little more catty sounding, like playful in his vocal choices. And the lyrics are just so bad. They're just bad. And it's that part is very, it detracts a lot away from some decent songs scattered throughout. But really, you're coming off of, listening to Into the Pandemonium and then Cold Lake, you knew they were going somewhere with Into the Pandemonium. I didn't expect it to be what Cold Lake was. They tried to embrace more of a glam thing. And since they're coming from this underground extreme metal context, their take on it is just bizarre. It is just a very obtuse. You could tell they're really trying to nail it, and it just doesn't feel right. Like I said, it feels a bit lost. And
yeah, but I think it's mostly Oliver Amber's record. I think Tom wasn't really taking too much notice. And I think at this time, apparently, Tom was also planning to do a funk solo album together with a member from Jello. That never happened, but I think his head was somewhere else, and he's always been listening to all sorts of music.
Sure, yeah.
So I think didn't pay too much attention to this record. That's my feeling.
And you're completely right. The veil of darkness is lifted because he's happy in life. He's newly married. He's got people in the band helping him write music. Things are different, and it reflects in the way the album turns out. Whether he had much contribution musically to it or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I guess it's worth mentioning too. I mean, at this point, they had affiliations with bigger record labels in North America by this time too. So Noise still had their fingers stuck in the mix, but I mean, they were also dealing with other bigger labels. So there's probably was also that sensation of like, hey, we actually are moving up the food chain in the record business here. Maybe you do need an image and a sound that is going to go along with that to a certain point. CBS and Atlantic, EMI, BMG, these labels ain't going to push you to the top on the back of Morbid Tales, but they might on the back of something like Cold Lake material. Didn't work out, but also a variable that they were dealing with, bigger labels, people that were higher up in the music industry than Carl ever would be.
Yeah, but the sound is so bad on this record.
Then they didn't deliver on the sound.
And the producer is Tony Platt, who worked on Back in Black with AC/DC and stuff. So it's really weird. Why didn't it turn out better?
Yeah.
Yeah. They reportedly didn't get along particularly well with Platt as the recording sessions went on. That they were really excited at the prospect, but he turned out to be the wrong guy on the wrong album.
Yeah, I think also many of those, top name producers, they make things sound good just because they take forever to do them.
Yeah.
So if they get 1 week, they can't do it either. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But honestly, if I was digging through a record store and I saw the CD sitting there, I would probably buy it or a cheap copy of the vinyl. But guess what? I highly doubt this is ever going to be reissued. So if so, maybe, but am I going to run out and spend $300 on the vinyl? Nope. Not worth it. But if it came creeping along cheap, used, I would definitely pick it up.
I had 2 copies. I just sold my other one. So.
Right on. See, people still want it, and people defend it. There's defenders of this record, which I guess I get it. I don't know.
I think. I mean, I understand it. Folks like, it's not as bad as I can understand defending it, saying it's not as bad as some people make out to. It has some good stuff on it. If anyone's trying to push this though as like a great, fantastic breakthrough, misunderstood album, then I think they're almost just trying to apologize for it or something.
Yeah. Well, there's a long, not a super long, but a longish gap between Cold Lake and Vanity Nemesis. This came out in 1990.
Well, we must also mention first that they actually released a live VHS concert.
Oh, I actually have that. I can go grab it.
Yep. There's an EP too. I think does the EP come out before or after Vanity? I think it's before.
No, the live videos from the Cold Lake tour.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. I just meant the EP, the Wine in My Hand.
The EP came out before.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. We'll get to that in a second then.
Yeah, but the VHS, those live concerts are not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they toured for this album and it didn't go over well.
And starting off with Usurper and following it up with Seduce Me Tonight, and then knocking it out of the park with Mexican Radio. I mean, that's a 1, 2, 3 punch that nobody asked for. Jewel Throne following that up with Juices Like Wine. Come on, man. Come on. You're high.
We're in the J section of the concert.
Oh, boy.
And it's not good. The playing is sloppy, and he has this new sort of vocals on the old songs, and it doesn't work.
No, it's bad.
I think that's probably the worst thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to Vanity Nemesis 1990.
Or even this guy.
There's an EP before Vanity.
Wow. Yeah. Cool. What the hell is that?
That's some cover art right there.
Yeah, that's apparently some comic, because Martin was way into comics, and some friend of his did this guy, and he's called the Hellhammer. It's written on the hammer somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It's the guy who did the martial law comic series, if I remember right.
But this, as a Celtic Frost art, is no.
Yeah.
It's all wrong.
All wrong.
Yeah, that could not be more wrong.
Is there anything on that that's special? I mean, I see Wine in
It's
My
a
Hand.
David Bowie cover.
It's got
Oh.
Heroes from Bowie.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wine in My Hand, which again was the single they wanted to push. The non-album track was
Descent to Babylon.
into
Yeah.
Babylon. Yep.
Huh.
But yeah, that's it. You got a Bowie, a Wine in My Hand, and one non-LP track that is Descent in Babylon's not a bad track, but was it? Do you want?
It's okay.
Yeah. Do you want to have that cover art on your wall just to get to that track? I don't know.
Thoughts on Vanity Nemesis?
I think this is a worse album than Cold Lake. I just do. The guitar sound is, of course, a lot better. It's up front and you can hear. But I think the riffs are not as good. It's a lot of, groove metal or even new metal, chunky chugga chugga, and some, slow thrash metal tendencies of this one. And the vocals are still bad.
Yeah.
He hasn't come back to the... So it is one really good track on it I like. It's called A Kiss or a Whisper. That's a good track. But apart from that, I think I like the songs on Cold Lake more. So for me, this album, and also the art is not good on the record.
No.
This is all wrong. It has that stupid Celtic Frost. Just doesn't look right. And the photo on the back cover is so bad quality. The resolution is very grainy.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. It's like a hack job. Didn't put any effort into it. So this at the time, people said, "Oh, they're back they're back with Martin, and the lyrics are better, the sound is better." But apart from that, I don't think they made it back as much as has been stated.
I agree with you. People say, "Oh, Frost is back." Martin's back in the band again. You're thinking, "Here we go," but people's expectations were so crushed with Cold Lake that this is considered a return to form. Man, that's fucking ill tidings. That's not good at all. What are your thoughts on this one, Alan?
Yeah, kind of along the same lines. It does have more heft to it. It's, sound wise, it's a step in the right direction. But yeah, when you really stop and pay more attention to the album, it's still got a lot of the flaws that Cold Lake had. It's not a real return to form per se. The image is still kind of all wrong. The songs are just kind of boring. This is an album that, again, I'll revisit it from time to time, and I'll play it once and be like, "Huh. Well, I listened to it and I put it away. I have no desire to, spend time with it." And you're listening to it, it's like, some of these songs could easily have been on Cold Lake if you just made the guitar sound wimpier. It's not as far removed from Cold Lake as its champions want you to think. It still has a real strong glammy presence. I've read one review somewhere where it described it as like maybe one of the only instances of glam thrash as its own little micro genre, that they're somehow trying to put these two things together that just don't fit. And once again, maybe if you had done something interesting with the songs, that could have been worthwhile. But these songs just don't interest me. You play the album, it's like, well, like you said, Marty, it's maybe better than what it came before it, but it's such a low bar to clear. Of course, it's going to be better. Oliver's out, Martin's back.
He only played based on one song, though.
That's true. He's only back for barely. They took a while to kind of reel him back into it.
But the best songs are the ones he had writing credits on, the last 4 songs. I think they're the best, especially Kiss and a Whisper. That's a good song.
Yep. Yeah. And so just at the end of the day, this is another one. I don't really feel the need to own it. So I don't. If I had it, I would play it like once every 5 years and still be disappointed in it. So it's, yeah, I don't think it was the return to form that some people wanted it so bad. I think they kind of, talked themselves into thinking it was better than it was. That's my take anyway. And Marty,
it has
like you're not too keen.
It has some accomplished guitar solos though, because Ron Marks is playing the solos on this album.
Ron is back in the fold. Yep.
For once, they have guitar solos that are accomplished. Not as I prefer the old Tom Warrior, just soundscapes on guitar, kind of solos that sounds perfect. Should have stuck with that.
Yeah, when this came out, I was a little bit interested because it was heavier than Cold Lake, but it just ultimately, my overall take on this is just boring. It's just boring. Tom's voice still doesn't fit. Obviously, Wine in My Hand, Third from the Sun was the single from the record. They had the video for it. Heavy, but it just, the vocals didn't work with it. You got Wings of Solitude, which had a vibe that could have been on Into the Pandemonium. And then it's just a lot of boring stuff. And then the Bowie cover, Heroes, is at the end here, tagged on the end. But just underwhelmed. It felt like a band, again, trying to save a little face after what came before it, try to heavy it up again. But they were still in the mindset of trying to break through something. And it just, they were they're not that kind of a band that's going to have that breakthrough into the commercial market success. I mean, they're gonna kill it forever in metal, because that grew into a big scene in its own right. But to break through into something like a Bon Jovi or whatever was popular back when they were trying this transition, it's just not them. They don't look the part. They don't sound the part. It's just not right. And this year, it's a half-ass attempt to rekindle a heaviness, which there's various levels of success on this record, but ultimately the material is just boring. Just is.
Yeah. But it's oddly ahead of its time in some ways, because it sounds a bit like Pantera and the 90s Megadeth. It does.
Okay.
But
and they were flirting with that kind of level of success too, Marty, where their noise is still part of the picture, but not a huge part. They're talking to people at EMI and stuff. There were reasons to think they were on the cusp of something bigger. So
this was on RCA, Noise, and BMG. My pressing of this is like, wow, really? Also,
it is on EMI, the original.
Yeah, they were definitely. There were reasons for them to think that they were really close to bigger and better things.
Yep. And before there's a massive breakup and break, they did this Parched with Thirst and I'm Dying collection. This came out in 92.
They apparently did a few things before that.
Really? Go for it, because I don't have any of it. So
I just have snippets. They did a video commercial ad, and it's for some fashion magazine in France or Switzerland maybe. With that Brian Ferry cover that is on the Vanity Nemesis.
Okay.
And then Tom planned a glam solo album, apparently, in the vein of Mötley Crüe and Poison. Never came out. And they were planning to make the next Celtic Frost a funk album, I've read. Never came to be. But in 1991, this I've read that they recorded, it's mentioned in the Are You Morbid book that they were going to do some funk stuff with Jesse Johnson, who played with Prince in a band called The Time, one Minneapolis funk legend, apparently. And I've read somewhere that they actually recorded a demo called Swinging Thing that is a funkish recording, Celtic Frost, but I can't find much information about it. So if anyone knows if this actually exists, I would like to know.
I've never seen it. I know that, there was talk about him being interested in helping produce what would have been the next Frost album, but I've never come across any recordings that he did with them.
No, that's probably going to be weird if it exists. And if it exists, it has clearly been buried. So
yeah.
And, all of these years they are working on that Rex I Ray triptych that was still 30 years away.
Well, I have very little to say on this comp. You guys have anything to throw in on it? It's a little bit of everything on here.
It's a weird comp.
Yeah.
Because it's not the best of in any way. It's just the weird stuff.
Yep. Yeah, Tom's take on it was he didn't want it to be a best of because he didn't want people to pay for songs they basically had already bought, probably. So they also, at this point, by the time they were putting this together, the writing was on the wall that it was going to be really hard to move forward. And he wanted a chance to pull together a lot of the random stuff that he knew Noise had in the vaults, but hadn't released yet. He's like, I know they're going to release it sooner or later. I'd at least like to have some say in how that gets released. So that, him and Martin spent a lot of time digging through the Noise, the recordings Noise had, and being like, okay, we never have got this song put out. Let's get it on here for fans. So it does end up being a real eclectic stuff. And there's 2 new songs. I think it's the first 2 tracks.
Idols of Chagrin and a Descent to Babylon.
Okay.
That Idols of Chagrin is supposedly from that swinging thing.
Okay.
But a reworking of one of the songs from that session.
Okay. So yeah, there were newish tracks. They weren't recorded specifically for this compilation. And some sources have said that, these were meant to be new tracks for the comp. No, it was tracks they were working on for something, but they also were, quote unquote new tracks, whereas all the other stuff, was like the older recordings like that in the Chapel in the Moonlight cover.
There's a Journey into Fear song too, which was unreleased until this.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and that one goes way back to
Morbid Tales,
Hellhammer or Celtic Frost transition, 84, 85. Yeah.
And don't worry, everybody. Mexican Radio made it onto this comp too, in case you were wondering. The studio jam version. So just in case you were wondering, there it is again.
And that's the Inevitable Factor is a good song too.
Yeah.
From Into the Pandemonium, one of the songs that probably should have been on Into the Pandemonium in place of some of the songs.
Yeah, so it's a neat collection, especially for completists who want to hear all those odd things that were kind of hard to get at the time. But yeah, I haven't played that in ages. But yeah, then they demo some stuff around this era too. Before the band completely went kaput, there are some early 90s
in 1992 demos. Is a weird period because they did 3 demo recordings that I know of. The first one I don't have any release of. It's a 4-track demo made in New York with Stephen Priestley still in the band. That's the last thing he did with them. And I've listened to it, and it's okay, kind of groovy, mid-tempo thrash, basically.
Yeah, good description of it.
And it's Icons Alive is a song there that they later re-recorded on the next demo called... Because Reed St. Mark was in a band called Mindfunk for a couple of years during this time. And he came back to Celtic Frost in 1992. And the first demo with him is, I have this release of, called Nemesis of Power.
Is this the Texas one or is this another New York one, Daniel?
I would say this is the Texas one.
Okay. Because I knew Reed helped him with,
show that again, Daniel.
Yeah, it's a Giger painting on it. So I also have a CD of it somewhere.
Right on.
This CD with both this and the prototype that we will get to.
Actually, someone recorded me that Nemesis of Power demo, and I cannot tell you. I've been ages since I've listened to it.
Yeah, it's not great. It's basically groove metal, but it has one great song, "Pearl of Love," with what's later reworked into "Domain of Decay" that ended up on Monotheist,
which is killer.
Yeah, it's easily the best song on here, and it's a different version, but the version on here could have been on Monotheist in the form it's here too. It's a good song. But this, I think, is a widely spread demo. It's many releases. But
a lot of different bootleg presses of some of these. Yep.
This one, however, the Under Apollyon's Sun, was very hard to track down. I don't think it's anywhere on the internet.
Huh.
And someone told me that there is a Polish bootleg of it made in 99 copies. And I was like, who do I know in Poland? So I contacted a friend I had in Poland and say, do you know the guy who released this? And he said, yes, I can give you his number. So I called him. I said, do you have any copies left? And he said, do you know what? I have 2 copies left. Do you want them? Yes. So I bought them.
Nice.
And the other one I let a friend in Holland get, and he was so happy. It was the only Celtic Frost thing he didn't have.
Very cool.
How is
I
it?
remember hearing whispers about it at the time, but I never ever saw copies of it.
So this is the rarest piece of Celtic Frost that I have. And how does it sound?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like Nemesis of Power, more or less, except for one thing. Tom sings brutal again. So they were heading into the more classical Celtic Frost sound, I think. But that's the only good thing about it. The songs are not good. None of the songs sticks out. So they were not there yet with the songs. But also to knock out 3 demos in 1 year, they can't have put too much effort into the songs. It's just like we have to do something. So probably rushed and the songs are underdeveloped. But on this, he sings with a raw, screamy kind of vocals. So for that reason alone, you should hear it. I think you probably have difficulty. Maybe someone had uploaded this by now, but I haven't seen it anywhere online.
Yeah. And you're... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
It's a nice one to have.
No, that's really cool. Yeah, I've heard about it for decades and never seen it till right now. But yeah, you're right. They were cranking out demos here because once again, they were still, being sort of, put. They still had some connections. There was still a chance they were going to get a new contract. And like you said, at first Stephen Priestley was helping, then Reed was involved, Kurt was still involved, helping them quite a bit with stuff. And they literally got to the point where, the lawyer called him one day and was like, hey, you're completely out of your noise contract obligations. It's all done. You are signed to, I guess it was, was it BMG/RCA at that point? They had gotten a new songwriting royalties contract. I'm forgetting there's a technical term for that, not distribution, but the songwriting credits part of the contract. All that had gotten completely reworked. So once again, the money was set to flow, and the guys were kind of stunned. I was like, "This is everything you wanted, right? You've got your new contract without noise. You've got your songwriting royalties are coming in. You're on a big label. Congratulations." And they're like, "Okay, we need demos. We gotta start putting stuff together." And it was like maybe just a very short time later, Tom was already in Texas working on that Texas demo stuff. Kurt calls me. He's like, "You're not going to believe this. The label just dropped Celtic Frost. They were signed to the label for like a couple of weeks or something." And that was all she wrote.
Right. And
the label had been, it was the typical thing that happened a lot there in the early mid 90s. The label restructured. The people that had been present there who had really pushed to get Frost on board and were interested in them, who knew them, all those people were reassigned, downsized, right-sized, whatever. And so now new people are taking a look at the band for the first time and just like, what the hell is this? We can't do anything with this. And so, they were cut. Literally, it seemed almost before the ink had even dried on the contract.
And that brings us to from 92, Parched with Thirst, to 1997, which this Apollyon Sun demo, we're going to go to the band Apollyon Sun. This is a band that Tom started with, I can't pronounce that, Marky, the drummer from Corner.
I think the demo is just Tom.
Is it just Tom?
Yeah, and later it was joined by Marquis from Coroner
Marquis. Yeah, yep.
and Error Ulana, that would be on Monotheist.
Right on. Daniel just shown the Apollyon Sun demo, which is listed in the Apollyon Sun Bandcamp metal archives. But then we go to God Leaves and Dies EP that came out in '98. Any of you guys have this?
No, but I must mention that the demo has, because Martin Ein was launching a new version of Hellhammer at this time, which would be done with sequencers. It's like completely weird. And
I have never even heard of this information.
Yeah. And all this Apollyon Sun stuff have reworkings of all the Hellhammer and Celtic Frost songs that are awful. And I assume that was that Hellhammer project sounded like. And the first time I heard Apollyon Sun was on a Celtic Frost compilation album with covers. And the last song on that was Apollyon Sun doing Babylon Fell. And it's not a good version.
Yeah.
It's and that is on the demo as a bonus track. But on that demo is also a song called Relinquished Body that would later be reworked for Triptykon's first album as Myopic Empire.
Yep.
And that song has one good riff that is like a Hellhammer riff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the best thing I can say about that.
Well, they did God Leaves and Dies EP in '98, the sub full-length album in 2000, and then they close it off with the Flesh demo in '02. And I got to say, I'm a fan of industrial type music, some industrial metal stuff, and the God Leaves and Dies EP and the sub albums, better than I thought they were going to be. I'd never heard them until today. So first impression, better than I thought it was going to be. I'd rather listen to that than Cold Lake, to be completely honest. And I think it's important to mention this project for the fact that they were right in line with what was going on in the scene during this time, and they did so very convincingly. They didn't sound like an interloper in the scene. It sounds like they would have fit in if they had a better push behind them. But with bands like Pitch Shifter, and where Pitch Shifter ended up going, and there's like some hip hop moments in the drum beats, but there's just a good crunchy guitar and, mechanized effects here and there. And Tom's voice with a lot of effects on it really seemed to fit within this context for me. But I think this band is important because it moved his creative avant-garde nature into the modern era. And there's elements here that I think you could kind of hear in smaller doses on what would come later with Monotheist. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Some of the stuff definitely, there's maybe a little groundwork for Monotheist on here. Yeah, I don't have your affinity for the industrial metal stuff very much. That's a style I've never clicked with, save one or two albums. It's few and far between. So yeah, I went back and replayed the sub. I didn't play all the stuff again, but I played the sub album again this week to sort of remind myself. I was like, oh yeah, okay, it's there. I guess it's competent in that style, but it's a style that's not really for me.
But I think this is the time where I think Tom was a little bit after the time here, because it's kind of a wannabe Nine Inch Nails, a little bit of Skinny Puppy Ministry, but it ends up sounding more like Marilyn Manson to me.
Yeah,
it doesn't really have that hard edge because I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And that was more the first half of the 90s for me when I was into that music, and this is the second half, so it's a little bit after that. But the EP has a pretty cool dance beat all through it. Marky Mark is a really accomplished drummer, and so that one is kind of dancey, whereas the sub album, it's more varied in the drum tempos. And pretty good. The worst thing on it is the Messiah cover, the Hellhammer cover. Really not good.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's serviceable album. Yep. And but I think it fell apart and the members left, and the Flesh demo, I think it's just Tom alone, and that demo has awful rap version of Procreation of the Wicked that has to be heard to be believed. It's like, this is, I mean, if you thought Cold Lake was bad, listen to this rap, Procreation of the Wicked. It's not, it's just not good. And that lead us into the Celtic Frost reunion.
Yes. And 2006?
No, 2002.
You've got stuff to show. I have nothing, so go for it.
They did a prototype of this, Marty.
Yeah, prototype. Yeah.
Prototype demo that was actually released in a box that looks like a distortion pedal box with a cassette in it. And 100 copies. I never seen one, but if you have one and want to sell it, you can contact me because. And this prototype demo has to be heard to be believed, because I have never heard of it until like 7, 8 years ago, when me and Ian Christie was walking on a mountain in Switzerland in the snow, and we started to talk about Celtic Frost, as you do. And he said, "Have you heard Prototype?" And I was like, "Prototype? What's that?" And he put on the song Hip und Hop Jugend on the mountaintop. And that song is, you have to hear it to believe it, that Celtic Frost did Hip Hop Jugend. It's, if Into the Pandemonium was avant-garde, this is so far out of what Celtic Frost is supposed to be.
Yeah.
You need to hear it. It's fucking incredible.
I believe it's on YouTube. I remember hearing it quite a while ago. Yeah.
That one is. But then the prototype demo has a lot of stuff. It has a Beatles cover, Helter Skelter, which is not good.
No.
But then they have a song called November that is really good, and later turned up on Monotheist as obscured in more or less the exact same form. So it's a weird demo. And for some reason, they left off one song, and that's a cover of Hit Me Baby One More Time by Britney Spears with Martin on vocals, which I haven't heard to this day, and I would really, really like to hear it. So I don't know if anyone has that.
Oh, boy.
So this is the most avant-garde thing that Tom Warrior ever did, and I'm so happy that it exists. The prototype demo, and I think some of this stuff was in their plans for the Monotheist album, but they cleaned out almost all of it except that November song.
Yeah,
which is great.
Well, is there anything else to get to before we get to this one?
No, I think they just realized that this is not going to cut it, and they did that Dark Matter demo that is more or less how Monotheist sounds. So it took them a couple of years to find the right formula.
Yeah. And really, 2006 lands, and this thing is born. And I got to say, I bought this sight unseen. I said, okay, here we go. This blew me away. Blew me away. Your thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, it's one of those all-time best comeback albums.
It really is.
Yeah, it's the only one I can think of is Perfect Strangers with Deep Purple.
Those are comparison. Yeah,
it was so much hype around here, and this album was recorded by a friend of mine called Peter Techgren. So I got some inside information.
Yeah.
He says it's gonna be really good. Trust me. And I think he was the one who pushed Tom to say you must start the album with a couple of ooh, so the Frost is back, and that's right up front on this record, and it's like, yes. And it doesn't sound like old Frost at all, but it has the same mood in some way. It just fits. It's just a good album, start to finish.
I don't know. I would argue that Divine Decay song, I think that has the pulsing, headbangable movement in the riff, and it's just that feels like an older song, which it is.
That is from the Nemesis of Power demos.
Yeah.
It has that Hellhammer kind of riff.
Yeah.
We never mentioned that, but he has a unique style of making riffs, and I think that has to do with the fact that he wasn't very good on guitar in the beginning.
Yeah.
So he moved as short a distance as he could on the guitar and came up with this completely unique, great riffs. and that is one of them. Even though it's on a later album now. So.
Yeah. Thoughts on this one, Alan?
Oh, no, I agree. It's a fantastic album. I remember, yes, there was a ton of hype about Frost coming back. It seemed like one of those bands that was never going to come back, given how badly things had ended. I avoided it when I had no interest in it with all the lead up. I'm just like, oh God, it's another overhyped reunion album. I just don't care. I'm always real gun shy about reunion projects when there's been a big gap and you're getting new musicians involved and everything. I'm just like, there's a lot of ways this just goes wrong. It's just not for me. But when it came out, and it was like May 2006, I happened to be stuck working in a lab at Berkeley for almost a month, and it was a dead end project that was going nowhere. But I was still having to. I had to go through the motions with it, as part of the group. But it became obvious to me really fast. These people do not know what they're doing. This is a waste of my time. I'll do it, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a whole lot of "I told you so"s, and I'm going to be the one saying them. Anyway, what it meant was I'm stuck there in Pasadena, doing this shitty project that I'm not at all interested in. But did find there's a couple of really good record stores within walking distance of the place they had me staying, and went into one of them, and it was there on the show. I was like, oh yeah, that came out here just maybe a week or so ago. What the hell? What else am I doing? Everything about this trip was just very lame. Sure, I'll buy. I'm going to buy a handful of CDs and keep myself entertained working through all this crap. Sure, let's add that one to the stack. Worst case scenario, I sell it back to the used record store in a couple of weeks when I get back over to South Carolina. Well, didn't have to sell it back. It turned out to be really, really damn good.
Yeah,
I agree, though. It doesn't really say, this is not Morbid Tales, The Return. This isn't, Mega Therion Part 2. It's not deeper into the pandemonium. It's got parts of the classic Frost sound and mood and darkness, but it is new. It's them doing something that is, once again, different, original, something you didn't necessarily see coming, and it works extremely well for them. So, yeah, it's actually one of those, for me, rare examples of the reunion album that really does everything you possibly could have dreamed it would.
Yeah, this album was like, it was so connected to my life because it was my ex-girlfriend, we were still friends. She worked at Central Media at the moment, so she handled this album in Sweden. So I got the record from her before release. And then we shared rehearsal room with a band called Vatain, who got to be on the tour for Monotheist. And, the Vatain guys, they don't get excited about many things. But to open for Celtic Frost, that's like, they were like shaking little girls. It was like,
I bet.
You could never, I mean, they have toured with Dissection before that, but this was something else. And before, when it's going to play in Stockholm, the excitement to see them, because they never played in Sweden before. So it was the first time we had a chance to see Celtic Frost.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And like a week before the gig, my phone rang and I answered and I said, hello? I said, hi, this is Martin Ein. Are you Daniel? Is this a joke?
Excuse me, I just shit my pants. I'll be back. Give me 10 minutes to fix this.
Are you about to ask me if I'm morbid?
It's like, no, it's really Martin Ein. I did an interview with a guy who had a book you have written about, because my book has just got out before that. And he said, I would really like to have a copy. So if you want, we're going to play in Stockholm. So if you're interested in coming to the show, you can bring a book and I can give you some Celtic. I was like, I already have a ticket, but I'm coming. And I went there and Tom saw the book and said, oh, I would like to have a book too. So I went home and got him a book because I live close to the venue. And they signed my CD. I didn't have the LP at that time, and that's great. And they were only talking about my book with me, not about their music at all, which to me is like, I'm not the interesting person here. You are.
Holy shit! Yeah.
And the opening band was Creator, and then Mille saw the book and said, "I want a book too." So I had to go home and get another one. So that was a
really
night.
cool.
You're like Oprah. You get a book, and you get a book, and you get a book.
And then I was going to Switzerland soon after this, and Martin said, "Yeah, hit me up, and we go out and eat and hang out." And he wrote me his address on a sticker. And I went to Switzerland. I forgot the fucking sticker, and so I never met him then. And I went home, and then he died. So it was like I missed this opportunity to hang out with him, and to this day that bothers me so much, because I found that sticker when I got home, and it's his writing with his. I was like, it breaks my heart when I see it. It's hidden now because I can't stand to see it anymore.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then a little bit later, a couple of years after this, Ian visited Ian, and he took me to the Giga Museum, and Tom guided us there. And it was one of those magical. The Giga Museum is awesome. If you haven't been there, you really try to go one time at least, because it's a fantastic, magical place. And Tom was there guiding us, and it was his Italian girlfriend at the time. And I lived in Italy, so we were speaking Italian and having fun. And then a bunch of old guys came in and hang out and drank wine. And when they left, I said, "Who was those guys?" "Oh, that was the Young Gods. It's a band I really like." I said, "You didn't tell me it was the Young Gods when they were here." So it was just a weird, like, dream day. So, and Tom, listen to Tom when he speaks. It's so interesting. His mind is working on several levels at the same time. And it's just one of those most amazing persons in the world.
Very smart dude, for sure.
Yeah, and wild. It's wild ideas, and
it shows. I mean, he has a body of music that shows different, levels of thinking and creativity. It's awesome. Love it. You don't love everything maybe he's done, but man, the stuff he's done that's on top is exactly that. And for me, we did a 2-hour-long discussion on this record in the album club, so I'm not going to go too deep, but this to me is they finally hit their avant-garde masterpiece. It's modernized Celtic Frost. There's no confusion on a mission statement. It is focused from start to finish. Even the trance-like ritualistic stuff towards the end, it's like it works. It fits in this context. And then you've got a dying god coming into human flesh. Martin takes the lead vocals on this. He just sounds absolutely tormented, and it really brings an otherwise very simplistic structure of a song. It brings it over the top, his performance. And another thing I like is kind of the callback, whether it's conscious or not. The riff style, very like on one string, type of Hellhammer riffs. There's some of that on here. They get a lot of mileage out of simplicity again. Getting the songs sell themselves in the way the riffs are structured, and the way the vocals, whether it's Tom or Martin singing, pushing the material even further, there's just space for so much stuff to happen. Weird sounds and dense textures coming in. There's room for all of it to live here. And you get older songs like Domain of Decay, which is just a heavy groove Celtic Frost riff. It's just so cool. I don't know, from start to finish, this album is fantastic. I think it's a fantastic record. Tom has remastered the spirit of Celtic Frost in his vocals. There's moments where he's heavy, old school, and his more droning type of, misery, like he was experimenting with ever since Into the Pandemonium. He really kind of perfects it. He takes it back, and it makes it work perfectly in this context. Whereas, albums like Vanity Nemesis or even on Into the Pandemonium, it felt a little weird. It fits. Again, an avant-garde masterpiece. Celtic Frost for the modern era. It would have been really cool to hear a follow-up to this, but there's a bit of poetic justice ending here just for the fact that they, there's no room to have a misstep. They end on such a masterpiece.
No return to Cold Lake or
No.
Vanity Nemesis Part 2 lurking.
And I think
you do get a follow-up in a way.
Yeah.
I think Peter Tätgren had a huge hand in making that album as good as it is, because the production is great. It makes the music come out, and it's very varied. The album has so much,
a lot of different moods. Yeah, and but the underlying essence of the whole thing is a darkness that hadn't been there in a long time, an authentic darkness. It's
extremely long.
Yeah.
Yep.
I usually don't like albums over 40 minutes, but this one gets a pass.
Even though it's long and has a lot of different avant-garde type things in it, I still, when it ended, I listened to it over and over again. It's like the way they paced it and everything, it works so perfectly well. Everything perfect. It's great. An absolute classic. One of I would even say, someone mentioned it in the chat, it might be my favorite Celtic Frost record, just for the fact that I feel like there's a little of everything from their entire catalog in here, but it's done so well. They know, it's like they came back and realized who they needed to be and who they are. So awesome. Well done.
Talking about the live shows from this, I have one recording. The old songs, they play very slow on this tour, which some people had a problem with. But I think it was Eric of Vatain told me, those people are idiots. It's perfect headbanging music.
Yeah.
It's just, it's also a chance to experience those songs in a new light, because they were a bit different. Yeah. And I think it's very hard to play songs slower live than they are, because live you kind of pump to play everything too fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they had it under control, and it's so great. And one thing we forgot to speak about is this record, the interview disc that was made during the Cold Lake tour, and it's pretty interesting to listen to this interview because they're pretty positive about Cold Lake and how things are going. And but it's a good interview. They're all very nice. Oliver and Kurt and Tom, now we're doing this and it's going okay. And so it's a snippet of history.
Well, that we have to end this up with Triptykon. That started, I don't know when it started, but the debut album Esperistera Daemones is the debut full length from this. Thoughts on this?
And this is, I think Tom found the form finally with Monotheist, and this is a continuation of that form.
Yep.
And this album is ridiculously heavy.
Yep.
It's so heavy, and it's almost hard to take in at sometimes because it's very long and it's very heavy.
Yep.
The first song, I think, is the best, the Goetia.
Long too, 11 minutes long.
11 minutes long, which is probably a little bit too long, but the song is great. And it starts with its lone guitar. It starts the same way as Triumph of Death starts. And Triumph of Death is also almost 10 minutes long. So it's like a callback to that. And that song, I think, is great. I think it's even better than the first song on Monotheist. It has a catchy chorus, the Under the Burning Moon and that stuff. I just love that. But the rest of the album, it can be a bit daunting because it's so heavy and crushing all the time.
Very dense. Yep.
And I think the worst song is the Myomic Empire, which is the old song from it was on the Prototype demo and even on the Nemesis of Power demo, because it has this almost Alice in Chain kind of vocal styles. I don't think fit, but then it goes into that Hellhammer-ish riff, and it's great again. So that's the only thing I don't think works on this album, that Alice in Chain stuff. The rest of it's good, but it's a bit dense, and I can't really single out any other songs than the first one.
All right. Alan, thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good album. It's a good follow-up for Monotheist. It's working with a lot of the same general soundscape. I hadn't played the Triptykon albums in quite a while.
I haven't either. It's been a minute.
I picked them up when they came out, enjoyed them, but they had been collecting dust. Revisiting them over the past week or two since we decided to do this with Daniel. One thing that stood out to me, like, yes, they're very dark, very heavy albums. There is more variation hiding in some of those tracks than I remembered there being. In my mind, they had kind of just condensed down into this, big, heavy, dark slab. But, you get some of those, more, strained, gothy vocals, but they sound good here. I think it's Shrines, the track that has those. Myopic Empire, yes, it's not the best track, but it does have a more distinct sound to it compared to the other tracks. It's not just another big, lumbering, slow slab. A Thousand Lies is, a much more aggressive track than a lot of the other stuff on the album. It rages a little bit more. So, yeah, it is a little bit of it's a commitment to sit down and play the whole thing due to the length. And, at least for me over time, I had kind of forgotten, though, that they really are doing several different things here. They're not doing crazy things. This isn't like Into the Pandemonium where you're throwing everything at the wall to see what will stick. But there are variations hidden in these tracks, so it actually holds up really well after all this time. This was one I wasn't sure. It's like, am I still going to like it, or is it going to feel a little bit like, the shine has worn off of it? But no, both this and the next album have held up really well, and there is stuff to check out there lurking below the surface. It's just a very long and very thick surface that you got to dig through to get to some of it. But there's cool stuff buried in these albums.
They also did the EP before this, I think, called Shattered. Right. I don't have.
I don't have the EP either. Yep. Oh, Marty's got it there.
Yep. This has Shatter, I Am the Twilight, Crucifixus, Circle of the Tyrants, Dethroned Emperor, with Nocturnal Culto from Dark Throne singing on it live. It's a cool EP. I think they did a video for Shatter. But anyway, this, no complaints. This thing is just a heavy beast of a record. You look back at the Celtic Frost catalog, one thing that is constant with that band is change. So you get to this here after, Monotheist had such an impact. You guys are right. Tom, seeing that the formula, they arrived at what they were always striving for, I think. And there's no real need for a huge deviation from this aesthetic, other than just to dig into it further and get heavier and more dense, which is what this album has done. And the Shatter thing is really cool. The video for Shatter is cool. Shadows on the Wall. It's just a cool video. But then we ended up with pronunciation of this here. Milana Chasmata 2014. Daniel.
Well, it's basically more of the same.
Yep.
It's very similar. The songs are a bit shorter, but maybe not as memorable. I can't remember if there's anything. Aurora, I think that's that song I really liked.
Yeah, Aurora is one of the standouts. Yeah.
But this is like industrial music. It's a soundscape that just you kind of go into a trance when you listen to it.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's I mean, they're so heavy, these records. It's like death metal records, but the music is not death metal. The sound is.
Which isn't afraid to go into gothic realms too, with Tom's voice at times, and he's really, like I said, he found his place in his singing journey. I think it really, the dark side of it really suits him well. Your thoughts on this one, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, now this one does sort of feel like a part 2 album. It's a continuation. I think the sound overall is a little better. And this is something I've only noticed, again, in the past week or two, playing them both quite a bit and kind of like play this one, play that one. The music here maybe is just a little bit brighter, and maybe part of it too is the songs, like you said, Daniel, they're a little bit shorter overall, so things feel like they have a little more impact. You start with in one of the faster, more aggressive songs with the Tree of Suffocating Souls. Things just sound a little more distinct here. It still does have that real soundscape quality to it that you mentioned, and that's maybe the one knock against Triptykon and why I don't return to them a bunch. These aren't albums where you're going to find tons of big hooky riffs all over the place. There's big thick sounds all over the place and heavy, and it sounds cool, but these aren't the kind of riffs that you just get stuck in your head and become instant favorites and classics like on the very early phases of Celtic Frost or Hellhammer material. And as such, it can be hard to sometimes remember what does that song sound like again. They can blend together a little bit. They're supposed to blend together, I think, because you're creating this big aural soundscape. But there are good ones along the way. Aurora is, if I remember, that's one that's got more of a goth structure to it. Black Snow is a very heavy, very doomy one at the end. Even by the standards of Triptykon, that one is really crushing, quite well done. Bullskin House is interesting as the second track. So Altar of Deceit, I think, has maybe a little bit more of like an older Frost sound to it. Yeah, so once again, there's some variations to the album. It's aged very well. I'm really glad I spent some time with it finally. Hadn't avoided it for any reason. It's just one of those things that kind of got lost on the shelf. And when I was in the mood for that kind of stuff, I'd go play Celtic Frost albums instead. But the Triptykon material has held up really well.
Yep.
And of course, inevitably, there's been promises of a new Triptykon album for a while. It was supposed to drop last year. And
it was this thing, though.
Oh,
Live at Roadburn?
Yeah.
There is the live, yeah. I've never heard
old Celtic Frost triptych that was finally completed, 35 years after the fact. So, I think that was something that was important to Tom to
they wanted a third one, but I thought they were going to do another studio one, but these days it seems like there's a rumor that
everybody's getting
an album
old
coming out.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm getting old, and I don't know how many more albums. And Tom is way older than me, so who knows?
Yeah. Those thoughts start creeping in, don't they? It's weird.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, Jeff saw them at Maryland Death Fest, and he's saying here that, he said, they technically.
Yeah, I saw them too, because we played there. So
riding into hopefully.
So
maybe there will be.
Met Tom in the hotel lobby. It's like, what are you doing here? We're going to play too. Oh, okay. Straight after you.
You're opening for us.
Yeah. And then a funny thing, when we got home from that, I went to a wedding for my niece. And the guy who rented out the castle where the wedding was, he's an old musician. So we started to talk music. And he said, we are 7 brothers, because my dad was a touring musician. So I have brothers all over the world. And one of them is a musician. He's called Oliver Amberg. Do you know him? I was like, are you kidding me? The guitarist of Cold Lake. Of course I know him.
That's pretty cool.
So, and I told Tom, and since then I haven't heard from him. So I don't know if that was sensitive.
Utter that word, that name again in his presence, right?
Yeah.
I think they might have had their differences.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oliver was excused from the band under not so great circumstances.
Yeah.
But also, I heard an interview with Oliver Amber recently, and he said I behaved like an asshole during the Cold Lake tour, so I completely understand that.
Yeah,
and I'm ashamed.
Yeah, some of those, they have mended some of those bridges too. A lot of that stuff was long ago. I mean, there was a period, like you said, Tom and Reed had a big falling out by the end of the Pandemonium tour cycle. But a few years later, they were able to reconcile, and Reed was helping him again with the stuff there, in the early 90s, really trying to still be part of it and help them kind of get over. So
I think the original idea was to have him on the Monotheist album.
Oh, really?
He couldn't do it for some reason. I don't remember. And what else? Oh, there's also the Triumph of Death that we haven't mentioned. That happens, I guess, after the trip. When I heard that, I was like, oh God! They booked a tour. I mean, some gigs, and I was like, I have to see the first one, which is going to be in Essen. And then they booked another pre-gig before that in a tiny club in, I think it was Frankfurt. And I was like, oh my God, I have to go to that too. So I had to, I had to go to both. And that first one in the tiny club, it was standing like a feet from Tom. That was incredible.
Wow.
Nice.
That's one of my favorite live experiences ever. And I'm so happy I went to that.
That's awesome. And they're just doing covers of the Hellhammer stuff. They're not, are they going to do anything new, are they? And they're
no.
It's basically Triptykon, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But it's just like to get the Hellhammer songs on stage.
Yeah,
sure.
So
no, that's really cool.
I'm glad that happened, and now they can really play, so the song stands out a bit.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Many of them are very good. So
they are. Yeah.
And also it's like Hellhammer. They did one EP. How many songs do they have? Well, they have like 30 songs. It's
right. Yep.
And I also, when Triptykon was this 8 years ago or something? They were gonna do a Celtic Frost set at a beer festival in Los Angeles. The Decibel magazine.
Yep, Decibel Metal
right.
and Beer Fest. Yep.
Yeah, and I heard about that. I called in sick from work, booked a ticket, and flew over to see them.
Nice.
And I was there for 2 days and went home and back to work.
European folk and Scandinavian folk, they just have a different view of travel. For me, doing something like that is absolutely unheard of. I don't know why. I think us Americans are a little bit more closed in. I don't know why that is.
I don't know, but it was easier to do back then because now flights are so expensive. After COVID, it's before you can go to Japan for $500 from Sweden. Now it's like 20,000. You can't do it anymore. Yeah, at least I can't. I don't have a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. I think we covered it. Is there anything guys want to add?
Don't think so. Yeah, I got to see Frost twice during those monotheist years. Really great both times. Saw them on Halloween night it must have been Halloween 2006. So yeah, when they were first touring, and just super cool, heavy set. Saw them maybe a year later. They were, and some folks were talking about this tour in the chat. They were opening for Typo Negative. And it was one of those tours where Pete was not in very good shape. So Frost sounded fantastic. Typo Negative sounded like crap. The girl that went with me, halfway through, we just looked at each other, and it was one of those moments where you're just like, do you want to keep listening to this? No. And we're just like, okay, we both are obviously on the same page. Let's just get out of here. So we didn't even stay for the whole Typo set, but Frost, was great both times.
Yeah, I think Tom has it so together now. Every time I'm seeing Celtic Frost or Triumph of Death or Triptykon, they sound amazing every time. It's like they take so good care about everything now. It's just crushing every time.
He's really kind of, fell in love with his past again. He's not as angry at the early stuff as he used to be, and it's good because shit's important. It's huge. It's huge in the metal scene. Very influential, endlessly influential. And when it's good to see him stage again.
When we played MDF last summer, Tom told me in the hotel lobby, come and see the sound check tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock in the morning or something. So we went down the seedy streets of Baltimore, down to the end, and you heard Circle of the Tyrants playing, with this massive sound all over Baltimore. It was fucking amazing.
Wow.
Wonderful time.
Yep. Yeah, it was cool harvesting stuff for this episode and seeing how much stuff I do have and kind of reminiscing, how important this band has been to my life, my metal life, going through from teenage years to adulthood. And yeah, there's some things that I don't love that he's done, but man, the stuff that hits is just kind of world defining in a lot of ways. It's really cool to hear, such a creative voice go on and influence so many people. So cheers, Tom Warrior, if you're watching.
Yeah.
Tom Gabriel Fisher.
And it started right here for me when I was 12 years old.
Yep.
This very picture. And
Yep.
they have been imprinted in my mind ever since. And even if I speak shit about some parts of Vanity Nemesis and Cold Lake, I love everything of this. I couldn't live without anything. Even Prototype. It must exist in my world. Without it, I will be a lesser person.
Right. So if anybody has a line on it, I wonder how many were made, how many he did of that.
Oh, Martyrdöd was my band at MDF. I had so many bands. Oh, I forget. We had one band. We still have it, a band. We play occasionally. This band, Tyrant, which there's so many bands called Tyrant, but none of them sounds right. Because if you call Tyrant, you have to sound like Celtic Frost. So Peter, the main guy of this band, started this, and this is only inspired by Celtic Frost and Baffory. And that's it.
Nice. All right. I think we did it. Daniel,
Yes.
it was fantastic to have you back. Thank you for joining us. Next time
Yeah.
we'll try to record something ahead of time so you don't have to stay up all fucking night and
Yes.
have your next day ruined.
5 o'clock in the morning here now.
So sorry.
Yeah, we do appreciate you taking the time to do it. Yeah, it's kind of the first time we've picked an artist and followed them through all their bands. Obviously, it makes perfect sense to do with.
You picked the best one. It's all going to be downhill from here. No one has such an interesting career as Tom Warrior.
Very interesting. 100%.
Yeah, and very impactful and influential. But we really do appreciate you taking the time to do it. And thanks to everybody in the live chat. Folks have been helping out, filling in facts and stuff where we couldn't quite remember things. Marty, Daniel, one more time, folks, and some folks that came in later were asking the names of your bands.
This band Horndal is my band that's going really well in Sweden, but nowhere else. But we are working on a new album right now. So, and then I have Martyrdöd. This band that we probably more people will know of in other countries.
Yep, and we've got links to both of
a couple
those
of albums out on Century Media and the American label Southern Lord.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and links to both of Daniel's projects are in the show notes if folks want to check them out more. Let's see. But Jeff Cottrell's performance. Good deal. Marty, any show notes you think, is it Dream Death next week for Album Club?
Wednesday's Album Club is Journey into Mystery by
Speaking of things influenced by Celtic Frost.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't go any better than that.
Mm-hmm.
There's an interview going to be coming too. Sue interviewed someone from Angel Witch. She sent that to me today. I'm going to have to try this weekend to get it edited. If not, it'll be early next week. So look for that. That's going to be awesome. And next Friday, do we have anything next Friday?
We do not. The calendar is open, so we will have to fix that.
We will fix that. We'll figure it out. But thanks, everybody. Daniel, again, thank you. It was awesome to have you, man. Hang out 1 second. We'll jibber jabber afterwards. And everybody in the chat, thank you so much. Link to the Discord servers in the description if you would like to join our community. A lot of stuff going on. And if you're new here, like and subscribe. It helps the channel. We appreciate it a lot. And for the super chat, also, thank you. But cheers, everyone. We will see you next week. Have a great one.